ABC Sport. AFL.
Get set for the deafening roar. The pent-up emotion is about to flow.
Listen to the crowd roar.
AFL.
Fans are on their feet. Can't believe what they're about to see.
The 2021 AFL Premiership Season.
Grandstand AFL.
We've got a game on our hands here. This is really good, fierce stuff.
This is a fantastic game of football.
Someone told me there was something wrong with our game. I can't see it today, actually. It's a spectacular contest.
Oh, the impossible angle!
Don't go anywhere. The theatre of it all.
And he dribbles one through and blows a kiss to the crowd.
Breaks the pace. Has a shot. Makes no mistake.
Sends it for home. It's a blind strike. Hard against the boundary. That's the glassy finish.
That is sensational.
Can he slot it through for the finish? Yes, he can! Right angle on the paint of 50. May have just snuffed an incredible goal. Tries to fend off. Got him. Takes him to ground. Backs it out to him. Second don't argue.
Go to your best players. Go to your match winners.
Plays on Mo down from behind. Holding the ball.
Perfect tackle.
It might be a game saver.
Ricochets to Martin. You know the rest. The razzle dazzle has arrived.
That is spectacular.
Ortberg kicks the goal. Welcome to the big time.
Oh, great mark.
Outside of the boot, Eddie. Oh, he has kicked it. Makes no mistake. Goes back.
Straightens up towards the goal and brings it back superbly. He is that familiar roar. Double fist salute to the crowd. They might have a new fan favourite. He'll snap. He'll go. A ripper from Gripper. Snaps off a single step and bends the through.
Grandstand AFL.
The 2021 AFL Premiership Season.
Dribbles it through and ends the game.
On ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
What great recent finals history between these two proud clubs. It's Collingwood and West Coast in what is the final game on Saturday of round 20 in the AFL Premiership season. Another dramatic day affected heavily by the coronavirus, with games getting postponed earlier today. The match between Melbourne and Gold Coast, and the match which was originally scheduled for tonight, Sydney and Essendon. The likelihood is that both games will be moved to tomorrow, and we'll have 5 games on Sunday. So the last game of the Saturday fixtured matches are West Coast Eagles and the Magpies. And the man who held up the Premiership Cup in that famous grand final in 2018, Shannon Hurn, celebrates his 300th game. He becomes the first man ever in the history of the West Coast Eagles, this great footy club with 4 premierships, one of the most successful teams of the last 30 years. He becomes the first one ever through the 300-game barrier. More on Shannon Hurn in just a moment. Corbin Middlemass in commentary alongside me, Andrew Mays. There's no late change here at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. Mark Hutchings, the sub for the West Coast Eagles, and Nathan Murphy for the Magpies. Afternoon, Maisie.
Hello, Corbin. What a strange day it's been in the footy world. I didn't think we'd be calling the last game on a Saturday, kicking off just after 4 o'clock, but that's how it's turned out. So looking forward to what these two can produce, especially West Coast, with Shannon Hurn on such a big occasion. A shame that no one's here to see it, but hopefully his teammates can live for it.
They're just hanging out in 7th on their own on the premiership table at the moment, the Eagles. So they're 6 points clear of the Giants in 8th spot. They're also 8 points off the 6th place team in the Sydney Swans. So at the moment they look set for an elimination final in the first week of the final series, albeit they look like their place in September is assured. The Eagles on a 2-game win streak. Collingwood under caretaker coach Robert Harvey. Our number 1 picks, Brendan Goddard and Brett Delidio, multiple All-Australian jumpers, 600-plus games between you. First of all, Lids, good afternoon.
Hello, Corby, Maisie and Beach. Good to be here on a Saturday afternoon. And just want a little shout-out to Shannon Bunga Hurn. I was in the AIS with him many years ago. Joshy Kennedy was actually in that.
Hasn't changed, has he, since then?
He was
16 years
he
old?
was exactly the same. He had just a couple more feathers up top, but
still had the hairy shoulders.
Hairy shoulders, hairy arms, same build, kicked it a mile. So, yeah, incredible effort, considering the amount of Ks that bloke has done over the journey, back and forth across the state, across the country, I should say, and to make it to 300. Testament and, premiership captain. It's what a lot of players strive to do when they start out their careers, and he's been an incredible player for West Coast for a long time.
One of only 3 in the history of the Eagles. So Chris Judd and John Worsfold twice, obviously the others. You mentioned the Ks, the exercise done during the week, 780,000. The other 2 premiership captains.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant 300 game players.
No. So they haven't had one. He's their first 300 game.
That was my question.
Yep. The only other 2 that have done it out of the West are David Mundy and Matthew Pavlich. So it shows how difficult it is, Beej, in what the 30 years now that we've had the Eagles in the competition to get it done from there.
1 every 10 years, you could say the average is. So incredible effort. So well done to him. But what are we going to see today, lads? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest.
Not sold on West Coast away from home.
Well, yes.
You never know what you're going to get. At least it's not at GMHBA, because you know they don't turn up down there.
Copping 2 of the biggest hidings all year, West Coast, and ironically, as you just mentioned, at the same venue. And Collingwood, who I think we can all agree has been a little bit better since the sacking of Nathan Buckley. But they've been up against it, only winning 1 of the last 3. West Coast in a little bit better form, winning 2 of the last 3. So, not sure. Obviously, a lot happening in the world, and a lot happened in the 3 years since. We wouldn't call it a rivalry, would we? When they played in the grand final, what a game it was. But lots happened then, not only in the general world and universe, but a lot's happened in the footy world where Collingwood aren't even on the radar, and arguably having to go through a rebuild as such. And West Coast, who we all thought this year would be, I think, just sitting outside the top 4, just based on, well, we did talk about it, I think most of us, about if it was a normal season, normal circumstances, they get their, 10, 11, 12 games at home, and you'd probably pencil in 8 to 9 of those, and, they'd be hovering around that mark, but they've been way off it. So for mine at the minute, even if, they win today and make the 8, I think they're just making up the numbers, to be honest, based on their consistency and what they've produced this year.
They do it a very different way than other teams, and they're such an outlier in the way that they play. So I'll take you through a few of the statistics, which will probably point out a little bit how their game style is different than the other top teams in the league. So they're number 1 in marks. They're number 1 in short kicks, in uncontested marks, hit-outs to advantage. They're 1 in that category, obviously, with Natanui. Their efficiency inside 50, they're the best at the competition. So they don't get it in there all that much, but when they do, they generally score. And they also kick backwards more than any other team in the competition. So it's a possession game.
And that hasn't changed since their grand final or premiership year, right?
And they're also number 18 in hardball gets, tackles. So they're not a great... When the ball's alive and moving, and a contested game, that's not really their jam.
Yeah, which you'd say it doesn't stack up in finals. But I think those numbers, the last 2 in particular, I think they're a lot better their premiership year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, they had a healthier list with some mature bodies playing consistently through there. I'm talking Yo's hardly played, Shuey's hardly played this year. So that makes a huge difference.
And I think you remember, for memory, it was, I might be wrong actually, their numbers were really good come finals time, because prior to that they were really poor. Then they turn it on for that 4 to 5 week period, the week before finals, coming into finals, they all of a sudden were the number 1 contested footy, tackling team, clearance team in the competition through that period. So they're capable of doing it, but they don't have the cattle this year. But it's funny. The efficiency is obviously an important thing for mine, when they're able to have the ball, play keeping off, force the other team to defend. And if you're an average defensive team, which, I guess in some ways they've beaten up the lower teams and the bottom 8 teams through that, because generally those teams are poor defensively, so they can kick their way through it, keep the ball off, and then their efficiency going forward is a lot better against the weaker teams.
Shannon Hearn and Steele Sidebottom at the coin toss moments ago, so both... not the full-time captain, obviously, nowadays. Shannon Hearn, the premiership captain, but has since been replaced by Luke Shuey in that role. And Steele Sidebottom, they're going to rotate that role among the vice-captains, with Taylor Adams and Jeremy Howe in coming weeks. So Scott Pendlebury out for the remainder of the season with a broken leg. The 5th member of our team is Jess Webster. She's in the grandstand. Unfortunately, not too many friends around you, Jess. An empty house, very different from the last day in September back in 2018. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Corb. Yes, definitely a bit of a solace experience down here on the boundary line, but really happy to be here. It's about 17 degrees and overcast, although heavy rain is forecast later tonight. I've checked the radar, boys. It's not pretty, so I might be heading for covers later on this evening.
Big game for the West Coast Eagles on a 2-game winning streak. Petrocelli and Redden coming back into their lineup from the team which beat the Saints last week. While for Collingwood, Main, Howe, Thomas and Hoskin Elliott, some experience back from the side which lost to Port Adelaide So the final game on Saturday of round 20, it's the Eagles and the Pies. You're with Andrew Mays.
Nat Nui tried to grab it out of the ruck. It's spilt free. Adams for the Pies, off to Grundy. Kick inside 50. Elliott sitting underneath it. Gets to the fall of the ball. Became the puncher in the end. Cleared the immediate area. Gaff first onto it for the Eagles. A hand pass to Shepherd. Inboard to Kelly. Knocked away from him and going to having to retreat. The Eagles, and they're locked up about 60 around from the Collingwood goal. Early foray forward. Tossed up. Grundy. Another clearance for him. Kicks inside 50. Off the ankles of Henry. Ricochet to Adams. To Elliott. Back to Henry. Broke one tackle. Just got his hand pass away in time. Thomas in there low and hard. He's wrapped up. A stoppage inside 50 for the Pies. Encouraging start for the Collingwood.
The Eagles in their royal blue with the gold wings and the white shorts. Collingwood in their home strip with the black shorts and, of course, the black and white stripes. We've got a free kick here for a hold. On the outskirts of the stoppage, just going Collingwood's way, and Jamie Elliott held without it. 48 metres out from goal. Liam Duggan stands the mark, and Jamie Elliott a chance to have a first look at the sticks of the afternoon.
Didn't get much of a look at that one, Beach, did you? It sort of come, oh no, he's had a hold of the footy and Duggan just held on for far too long, dragged him to the ground. So probably there, you would say.
A sharpshooter this year. His shots at goal percentage at 77%, which is very much towards the high end. He kicks from right on the 50-metre arc. Put the moz on him beautifully. Misses out to the right. So behind to start the scoring. Collingwood get going with that behind. We're 90 seconds into the game. No late change. The two subs, Nathan Murphy for Collingwood and Mark Hutchings for the West Coast Eagles.
The 300 gamer thought he was going to get his first kick. Instead, he hand passes to Duggan, who off a step goes long. Allen caught behind in the contest. Ball spills to Adams. Fishes it out to Goey, and he goes short to Hoskin Elliott, 60 from goal. Kicks inside 50. Nat Nui chopping across, takes the mark. He goes with the immediate hand pass to Gaff. Gaff, further hand pass, works the 1-2 with Rollum, and then keeps on going to Redden. Hand pass, and his kick is good. Finds Sheed, forward of centre now, skirting the boundary line. Shocking kick inside 50. Going back but not taking the mark. Getting a free kick was Maynard. Clipped over the shoulder in the contest, and he'll have it in the right back pocket.
Maynard with the yellow Sharon goes short to Howe, who marks at half back. So first game back for Jeremy House. It's round 5. Did that hamstring injury against the Eagles on that Friday night over in Perth. The Eagles by 27 points that night as Howe goes down the wing. Cameron the target, spills to Rotham. Clever just paddles it out the back to Hearn's advantage. Hand pass to Edwards. Defensive side of the wing. Turns and kicks the Eagles to half forward. Kennedy flies. Roughhead spoils for the Magpies. Spills to DeGoey. Went without it. Langdon controls the footy for the Eagles. Hand pass miss Rotham. Yo scoops it up. Gives it back to Kelly. High bomb from the centre square. Inside 50. There's no one there. And Main takes the intercept mark at centre half back for Collingwood.
Had to sit underneath it. Short pass finds DeGoey. DeGoey goes wider still, the right half back. Mark taken by Thomas. He goes forward of centre wing. Grundy on a long lead, wants to get things going straight away. Heading for Cameron. Spoiled away from him, but Elliott worked the 1-2 as Cameron was back onto it, received it to Mychek at the top of the square, couldn't take the mark, tries to gather, couldn't do that either. Big tackle on Henry there, almost could have been a free kick. Eagles come away with it. Sheed, his hand pass is knocked down, went straight back to him and he's caught, luckily high. Side bottoms tackle just slipping over the shoulders, otherwise he was gone for all money. A free kick in the left back pocket.
The Eagles do a lot of their work early in quarters, particularly at home. We've seen them just completely pull games apart in the first 10 minutes. They're the best scoring team in the league from minutes 1 to 10 of all quarters. And it really falls away as not just the game progresses, but also the quarter progresses statistically for the Eagles as Sheed goes long down the line. It's punched out of play, so a throw in on the southern wing. Now to Nui. We saw the champion data rankings out during the week, overtaking Bontempelli as the #1 rated player in the game over a 40-game sample size as Grundy wins the tap. Down in front of Yo for the Eagles. Hand pass away to Gaff. He links up with Sheed, who's got it again. Hooks a kick back down the wing, and Crisp takes the intercept mark for Collingwood. Hand pass to Howe. Away to DeGoey. Gives it to Maynard. Kicks to half forward. Grundy takes the mark for the Magpies, links up again with Maynard. His kick inside 50, not good. And McGovern takes the intercept mark at centre-half back.
And goes immediately to Allen, who's just forward of left half back. Takes a couple of steps back off the mark and then kicks over the top to Cripps. Cripps looking inboard on the 45. Attacking kick coming up to true centre-half forward. Collision coming. Main just got a fist in there to make the spoil. Now he's sitting on the ball. He got trapped underneath him. No chance to get rid of it. They pile in on top of him and we'll have a ball up inside attacking 50 for the Eagles.
Highest rated, you reckon, Corbs? I know which one I'd be taking.
Tossed up. Nat Nui grabs it out of the ruck. He was tackled, dispossessed. Ball spilt free. Hand pass comes the way of Yo. Yo to Gaff. Now outside, attacking 50. Quick kick inside. Magin was able to spoil. Quick shot towards goal is no good. Cripps off balance with his left boot as he got boot to ball. And it's out of bounds next to the left behind post.
And his position lids number 1 for contested possessions, clearances, centre bounce clearances, hit outs to advantage.
Yep.
You don't have him higher than Montempelli?
No.
As Collingwood in the defensive 50. Howe goes short to Magin. Magin back out wide to Roughhead. Oh, spills the mark. Closed down by Kennedy. Hand pass goes back to Howe. He kicks to the back flank. DeGoey takes the mark. So Collingwood trying to work their way through. The ground well spread out. Kicks to centre half back. And Adams off and running. Cuts through the middle of the G. Misses Thomas, his intended target. McGovern for the Eagles chops it off. Hand pass to Shepherd. Gives it to Gaff. He kicks wide. And Kelly marks on the southern wing.
Kelly wants to keep going quickly. Kicks over the top to Shepherd. He plays on quickly as well. Inside 50, Petrocelli. Used his body nicely. Just shoved Magin under the ball. Protected the drop zone. Took it on his chest. Easy. Left forward pocket. This is a hard kick. Up against the boundary line. He's about 35 out from goal.
Not looking over confident, but I did like that move from Adams. He had a number of guys out wide on the bet.
Here goes Petrocelli with the snap, brings it back a little too much, near side the entire way. Scores level at a behind a piece after 7 minutes. Brendan Goddard.
Yeah, and he took more aggressive route where he actually did have Elliott actually free. McGovern had actually fell off him and sagged off him, and the ball actually went over his head, fell on McGovern's arm. So I did like that. It was good intent. Just need to finish with the skills.
Howe short kick the main. He goes short to DeGoey on the back flank. So behind each. 7.5 minutes in, no late change. Finds Crisp, hands it to Roughhead, kicks down the boundary line. Henry hangs it inside the boundary. Hand pass inboard, finds Adams. Collingwood over halfway. Goes back by hand to Grundy, gives it back to Adams. Kicks inside the forward 50. The kick favours McGovern again. So the intercept defending from the Eagles, which is a real hallmark of their game, on show early, is another intercept possession for McGovern. He kicks it to Gaff, who marks still in the defensive arc. He comes wide to Petrocelli. And the Eagles trying to control some of the ball here, so the possession count pretty even early. Petrocelli short to Hearn, and the 300-gamer has it at right half back.
And this might be his first kick. He loops it over the top and spoiled away from Redden on that occasion. Main, who's been everywhere with his fists this afternoon, spoils out of bounds right on centre wing.
Just on the champion data ratings, it is unfair, isn't it, as an exercise where I don't think anyone thinks Nick Natanui is number 1 player in the game, but it invites all this criticism in for him, based on really a bunch of numbers collated and stacked together.
DeGoey bursts away from the stoppage. Hand pass to Orozco, almost pulled it back in. He would have been gone. O'Neill now onto it for the Eagles. Hand pass a little wider there to West. West out wide to Gaff. Back to West. Chance here for Rotham, and he goes further wide. Mark taken on the wing by the leading Waterman. Waterman looking inboard. Back to West, who's run to centre wing. He hits him on the chest. He goes inboard to Hearn, who can launch from right on halfway inside the centre circles. Lowered the eyes beautifully as well. Mark taken by O'Neill. He can now enter 50. It's a pretty crowded forward line at the moment. He goes to the pocket. Being held back was Darling, and chiming in front, Roughhead takes the mark.
Mentioned a couple of the outs earlier, so no Pendlebury for Collingwood, but Liam Ryan, a big out for the Eagles in their front half, the All-Australian forward pocket, so did his hammy last week. And Collingwood out of defence, Main to Myercheck. Back flank short to DeGoey. DeGoey swings a hand pass out wide to Noble. The hand pass puts side bottom under pressure. He's tackled, taken out of play by Hearn. And a boundary throw in right on halfway.
Well, they're true to form, aren't they, West Coast? Or it's the kick mark. They must be frustrating being a tall forward because they just refuse to kick the ball long down the line to a contest and give their tools an option. That if the last option is kick it sideways and get held up. So we're going to see this for most of the day, I think.
Oscar Allen rucking there, which is a little unusual after what we saw last week. Side bottom just in front of the boundary line. Hand pass away to McRae of the Magpies. Adams clever, punches it back in board. Duggan goes straight through him. West Coast regain possession. Shepherd kicks the half forward. Darling in a tangle with Maynard. Free kick Collingwood, and Rusco takes the advantage.
Right across half back. It's not a bad kick. It sits up finally for Hoskin Elliott, who takes off. Behind centre wing, kick to Elliott, who was caught behind, wrapped around his opponent there. And the free kick going away with Rotherham. He's looking out wide. The kick is okay to find Gaff. Gaff at left half back. Kick and catch again is on to Waterman. Waterman takes it inside the boundary line. Backward of halfway. Short kick again. Finds Duggan. Duggan looking back inboard again. Few options down the line. He might be forced to go long on this occasion. He is. Right to the teeth of 50. Darling almost marked uncontested, coming from 3 deep. Now he can load up. Instead, he lowers the ice, kicks wide, almost too wide, just taking it inside the boundary. Here's Waterman. He'll line up in a very similar position to where Petruccelli just missed from about 4 or 5 minutes ago.
Interesting decision, though. You had Nick Nat one-on-one deep in the goal square. Obviously doesn't have a lot of faith in his big bloke to just pop it on his head, give him a chance to compete, get your smalls to work. But said, we've got a 45-metre out, right on the boundary shot.
This would take his best as well, Waterman. It's near side the entire way again. Second behind of the afternoon for the Eagles. Their margin 1 point. 2 behinds plays 1 behind after 12 minutes.
Howe wasting no time on the kick out. Cleaned up at half back by Main. Hand pass away to Noble. Feints to kick inboard, then goes down the line, turns it over. Another intercept mark. Shepherd on the end of this one. The Eagles with 11 in from their premiership team. Shepherd obviously missed that afternoon along with Gaff and Natanui all out there. Long kick to half forward. There's a free kick here for a push in the marking contest, and Kennedy is going to get it. So Josh Kennedy, 55 out. He's only 2 metres in from the boundary line on his right. Kick inside a crowded forward 50. Crips the target. Can't take the juggled mark. Spills to Quaynor of the Magpies. Hand pass to Main. Back to centre half back to DeGoey. To Quaynor, to side bottom, to DeGoey, all by hand. Out to the wing for Noble. Floats it up to halfway. Henry under pressure. Hand pass eventually makes its way to Thomas. He gives it back to side bottom. All by hand through the centre square. Crisp. Away to McRae. Great kick inside 50. Finds Noble, who marks 48 out at left half forward. Kicks deep. Wants Hoskin Elliott, who floats over Gaff and takes the contested grab. And Hoskin Elliott running towards goal. Comes up with a footy, 15 out, just right of centre.
We all saw that coming. He wanted to go, and then he second-guessed himself. But I thought when it was in the air, the only thing that's going to make this good is Hoskin Elliott's athleticism, because the ball was put arguably to Gaff's advantage, and he being a head smaller. But it was Hoskin Elliott's athleticism that won it.
The mark deserves the finish, and Hoskin Elliott pops it through for the first of the day. The Magpies in business. 14 minutes in, they're 1-1-7. West Coast 2 behinds. Second lead change of the game. Brett Delidio, Brendan Goddard on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that decision, Beach, because I thought Mychek might have been the option in the pocket just to chip and make it an easier one, easy snap. But he liked Hoskin Elliott. We talk about West Coast not wanting to back in there one-on-ones. Well, that's, you can see why you back in Will Hoskin Elliott. You called it, Corby. He floated across Andrew Gaff, and he's always been very good above his head. Will Hoskin Elliott floating down from that wing, gets a lot of shots on goal. Huge tank.
Well, he's got a second lease of life, I think, hasn't he, under, I think, halves. I think he started to dabble with playing more on the wing still when Buckley was coach, but I think it's been more prevalent since Robert Harvey took over, and I've actually liked a lot of his games. As you said, his athleticism, got a big tank, so it's a position that should suit him.
Grundy and Nat Nui dancing around the centre circles like boxers at the start of a bout. Nat Nui gets the clearance. Nice hand pass by West, off hands and knees, back to Nat Nui. Kick inside 50, tumbles end over end. Crisp there to mop up to Maynard by hand. Short kick. He's just paid 15 to Main, who chips over the top to Grundy. Wants to go immediately. Hand pass to the running Crisp. Crisp overcooked that one a little bit. Nice spoil by Rotham coming over the top of side bottom. It spills out of bounds for a throw in. Just forward of centre wing for the Eagles.
Mentioned earlier, Oscar Allen, who had been doing some of the ruck work earlier in the year, the Eagles saying they wanted to settle him down in a position up front. So McGovern actually did a lot of the rucking last week in support of Natanui. It's Natanui here, palms it down to Sheed, kicks to the top of the goal square. Maynard, first one back for the Magpies, gives it to Madgen under pressure. Hand pass knocked away. Cripps close to the boundary line, and here's Crisp. Hand pass away to Adams, off half back for Collingwood. Goes on a bit of a run, draws Redden, gives it to Main. Hand pass away to Chris, so they're wanting to use it by hand. Collingwood all in the defensive half. Grundy to Madgen, he's mowed down. Great chase down tackle from O'Neill. West Coast win it in transition. Langdon hits up Kennedy, and he takes the mark. Nobody stands the mark as Maynard goes back to protect Cripps. Kennedy forced to shoot for goal right to the behind line, and it's through for a minor score. And too many options in the end. Josh Kennedy, West Coast 3 behinds, Collingwood 1-1, 16 minutes in.
It's actually a good decision in the end by Maynard just to roll back on that spare, because again, Kennedy felt like he had all this space in front of him, so he may as well chew it up when he arguably should have taken his time and had his set shot from just inside 50.
Collingwood work it out beyond 50, then Ginnivan's wrapped up. Ball up 60 out from the Eagles' goal. Lucky the umpire didn't call stand either. Would have been 50 metres. Hustling back quickly off the mark. De Goey. Hand pass inboard is a good one. Hosker nearly had almost sold Crisp into trouble. Hand pass was lightning towards Thomas. And Henry's out the back here. He gets it at the top of 50. Can loop the hand pass over to side bottom, who walks into the open goal. Collingwood have 2. 2-1-13. The Eagles 3 behind. 17 played opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Oh, that was exciting through the middle, wasn't it? Flicking handballs. It had a huge element of risk to it. Their ability to almost sell their teammate into trouble, but they were good enough, quick enough with their hands. Thomas put it out in front of Henry, and I thought he was just going to pop it through. Didn't see Sidey until the last minute, but the loopy handball over the top to allow him to get the Joe the Goose over the top, which is really good for Collingwood. I wasn't sure how they were going to start this game. I thought defensively the Eagles might get all over them, but they're breaking them down with their ability to use their hands and catch their defenders on the hop at the moment, which is really evident,
hasn't it? It's their ball use by hands through the middle of the ground, that link up from behind. It's obviously risky because if it does turn over, or West Coast able to turn it over, they should be exposed out the back, but they've managed to get through a number of times, and if it wasn't just for their poor kicking decision-making going inside 50, they'd be up by probably another 2 or 3 goals.
The Eagles get the break, but they're going wide out to the members' wing as Gaff links up with Duggan, who turns and kicks to half forward. Grundy in the box seat getting back, can't take the mark off half-back, spills to Crisp. Hand pass away to Adams, shoots it wide to Rusco. Kicks out wide, wants Elliott, gets to him on the hop. Elliott kicks smothered, Duggan. And ricochets out of bounds, so a throw in front of the members. Yeah, they're winning the possession game, Collingwood, 99-72 over West Coast, and 5 more handballs than kicks, so 47-52. That's not ordinarily the kick-to-ratio handball ratio you'd see from the Pies.
Thrown back into play. Comes the way of Noble. Noble into the middle. Kick smothered there, so it's a turnover, a chance for the Eagles. Gaff flares it out wide to West, loops the hand pass over the top to the running Langdon, just missed him as well. It ricocheted off Rusco. Petrocelli had a go, tapped it to the advantage of Gaff. Gaff enters 50 with his kick. Parked in front was Maynard, couldn't take the mark. Crisp it was rather, off to Adams. Adams to Madgen, to Quainer, and out wide. Mark taking it right half back.
So Bianco with it for the Pies. The 20-year-old as he just goes short to Hoskin Elliott. Kick the first of the game. Magpies by 10. Short along the boundary line to side bottom. Closed down by West. Hand pass along the line towards Bianco. Shepherd gets across to knock it out of play. And a boundary throw in just forward of the wing for the Magpies.
It's really interesting watching West Coast set up behind the footy. They guard a lot of space, don't they? very rarely go hard one-on-one. I'm like watching a Sydney side. This team just hands over, allows you run into dumb spots, you get picked off.
From the boundary throw-in, Grundy palms it down. Grundy follows up, walks it out of the clearance. The stoppage kick gets the clearance, kicks inside 50. Hearn takes the intercept mark inside the defensive arc for West Coast. So Collingwood by 10 as we tick into time on opening quarter.
Short pass finds West at the top of 50. Seems to be getting a little darker as well, these clouds overhead. Feels like the rain's on the way. Feels like it's getting cooler. Kick to Rotham, inside defensive 50. He flares it across the back pocket to Duggan. And Duggan short, and he finds Yo. Yo outside of defensive 50.
You mentioned the look of the ground too, Lids. We're so often to see just about every player in the same third of the ground. When you watch the Eagles, they use 2/3 of the space, which is quite obvious compared to everyone else.
Yo gets around his man on the mark, then turns it over. Crisp comes in and takes the intercept. He's looking to centre half forward. Low piercing kick is a good one. Old Thomas spin it before he had it. It recovers quickly, kicks inside 50 and finds Elliott on the chest, 15 out from goal.
But what that does, Corbs, is you talking more in offence as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, in offence, that when you make the ground big, then if you do turn the ball over, just like in that instance, there's
holes everywhere.
Holes, and there's a lot more space then for the opposition to go through. So that's why I think they have been, opened up at times against good opposition. The 2 times being down in Geelong at GMHB Stadium.
Get in your park. In comes Elliott to kick his first of the afternoon. He does so, makes no mistake. And Collingwood have the opening 3 here at the MCG. 3-1-19. West Coast 3 behinds. We've played 21 minutes in the opening term.
Just which stadium was that? Where were they playing?
Yeah.
Geelong. But it's clearly an approach, isn't it, to try and tire teams out. That we're going to maintain possession.
Yes.
You're going to have to run
and defend.
Yeah,
it was a trend there for a while. It was just when in offence, make the ground really big. Everyone open up space. Play this little kick mark, hit the 45s. But if you're up against a really good defensive team, you're forced to kick long down the line and go into a different kind of play method and offence mode where West Coast, that's clearly not their, even their second, third priority. So, or options, should I say. So that's where I think they just get exposed when really strong defensive teams are able to slow them down, take away those short kicks and marks, uncontested marks, and then force them to kick long down the line because they've all made the ground big. And then offensively, when the opposition win it, it's arguably really easy to score against.
Natanui wins the hit out back in the middle away from Grundy, so fast start for the Pies with the first 3 of the game. Quaynor, though, first possession, hand pass back into dispute. He ends up with the footy again. Quaynor tackled, taken to ground. So we'll have a ball up, front edge of the centre square for the Eagles. They've played 1 game here, West Coast, already this year. They beat Hawthorn, but both teams were goalless at quarter time. The Eagles yet to kick one so far today. Natanui down to Yo, links up with Kelly, kicks inside 50, but a turnover. Magin on the end of it, flares it into open space out on the member side. Main chases the footy close to the boundary line, tried to swing a hand pass back to Rusco, and he puts it over the fence.
Hot potato.
Gee, does he get a stat for that?
Boundary throw in between
out of bounds.
Wing and half forward for the Eagles. So Collingwood by 16 points, 3-1, West Coast 3 behinds. There's no footy tonight. It's the first time since round 12, 1997, that we won't have a Saturday night fixture with 5 games now slated for tomorrow.
There was a cameraman over the fence there. It's like he called for the ball from the clearance. Sheed, hand pass to Redden, to Natanui, back to Sheed to Redden. They work this nicely, the Eagles. Now the kick inside 50, favours Allen. It's a 2-on-1, knocked away from him. Front and centre is Kelly, gets around a couple. On his left, penetrating kick. West going back with the flight, takes the mark. He was called in by Duggan, and now he can line up from 40 out directly in front.
He was calm under pressure there, Tim Kelly. Wasn't he clean? Below his knees, great pick up, one-handed. Then just rolled around on the left, saw the offside winger basically rolling down, filling the spot, put it out in front of him, gave him a chance. Can he finish the work? That's what we want to see.
Connor West, the 22-year-old, for his first goal in AFL football. Let's fly, and misses to the right-hand side. 1 behind. That's now 4 for the Eagles. Collingwood 3-1-19. The margin 15 points after 24 minutes in the opening term.
Had 8 hardball gets on debut, Connor West, a couple of weeks ago. The Eagles last in that category, so maybe giving them a little something they haven't had. The son of Robbie West, well known in WA footy circles, a Sandover medalist in the early 90s. Collingwood on the last line of defence as Maynard kicks up the middle to side bottom.
He looks like he's from the 80s.
It's back to Rusco, and Rusco out of the defensive arc to Noble. He's got the moustache going and the big mullet. Kicking inside the centre square from Noble. Finds McRae. Hand pass to DeGoey. Kicks straight up the pipe. And Ginnivan takes the mark. And Jack Ginnivan can shoot here from 50 out, dead in front.
Well, get around young Noble there. It was his decision to pull that inside. It had a fair amount of risk attached to it, again, as we've spoken about with a lot of their ball movement so far. But get it inside, get it in the hands of good users. Geordie DeGoey and young Ginnivan here just hitting up at the right time, gets his chance to get on the scoreboard.
Well, West missed from a very similar spot at the other end for his first goal in AFL footy. Can Jack Ginnivan kick his here? A late birthday in 2002, one of the youngest players in the rookie draft. He kicks it dead straight as well. A big fist pump, he's happy with that. Jack Ginnivan on the board. His first in AFL footy, and every Magpie gets around him. The Pies have the first 4 in the game. They're 4-1-25, the West Coast 4 behinds, 26 minutes into the opening term.
Yeah, you called it. There's that kick just inside to McRae that opened everything up, and it took a lot of bravery to do that. You kind of saw it there. It wasn't overly obvious. And then when you said as well that get in Jordan Goey's hand, but it was good by Ginnivan just to lead up. Again, his player zoned off, West Coast defender expecting them just to dump the ball, but you got to identify that Jordan Goey is less likely to do that, being one of the better ball users at Collingwood, that just to lower that eyes, lower those eyes, just to find a young player, and he goes back. I thought he got a little bit too close to the man on the mark, and he just managed to slot it for his first goal. Unfortunately, there's no crowd here to help celebrate with him.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. Side bottom with the clearance, hand pass to DeGoey, who flares it out wide. Ball sits for Bianco, who turns, siren goes. Thomas was away at right half forward. He found him on the lead. Pies were away again, and they have kicked 4 in this opening quarter to nothing. 26 minutes and 52 seconds that quarter running for. Collingwood 4-1-25. The Eagles 4 behind. They've got plenty of work to do here at quarter time. The goal kickers for the Pies, Hoskin Elliott, side bottom Elliott, and Ginnivan with his first goal in AFL football.
So all of a sudden, 21 points the Magpies' way at quarter time. The 2 games completed earlier today. Geelong by 20 over North Melbourne at the Belrive Oval in Hobart. And the Western Bulldogs earlier today in Ballarat, a 49-point win over Adelaide. So they're the 2 completed games. There is now going to be 5 matches tomorrow due to the fact that there are 11 local government areas in southeast Queensland in lockdown as of 4 p.m. today, so about 43 minutes ago, and a 5-day lockdown, or at least I think it's a 4-day lockdown, has started in southeast Queensland. So as a result, the 6 teams that were meant to play there have made their way to Melbourne. There's going to be 5 games fixtured tomorrow, so as a result, the match between Gold Coast and Melbourne will now be played tomorrow, as will the fixture between Essendon and Sydney. So this is the last game of the day, Saturday, round 20 in the AFL. The Pies by 21 at quarter time. On ABC Radio and ABC News Radio, this is Grandstand AFL.
Hi, it's Virginia Trioli.
And David Astle.
We want you to tell us a story.
It must be true, and it must include the line, I have been meaning to tell you.
Yes, our homespun storytelling competition is back. This time, it's part of the Melbourne Writers' Festival.
The best storytellers will work with us to polish their yarn and then perform on stage in the Theaterette at State Library of Victoria.
For details, look for Homespun on the ABC Radio Melbourne website.
Hurry, entries close Sunday, August 1. The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
McRae, great kick inside 50, finds Noble, who marks 48 out at left half forward, kicks deep, wants Hoskin Elliott, who floats over gap and takes the contested grab. The mark deserves the finish, and Hoskin Elliott pops it through for the first of the day.
Thomas, and Henry's out the back here. He gets it at the top of 50, can loop the hand pass over to side bottom, who walks into the open goal. Collingwood have 2. Chris comes in and takes the intercept. He's looking to centre half forward. Low piercing kick is a good one on Thomas. Spin it before he had it. It recovers quickly, kicks inside 50, and finds Elliott on the chest, 15 out from goal. In comes Elliott to kick his first of the afternoon. He does so, makes no mistake.
Noble finds McRae, hand pass to Degoe, kicks straight up the pipe, and Ginnivan takes the mark. And Jack Ginnivan can shoot here from 50 out, dead in front. One of the youngest players in the rookie draft. He kicks it dead straight as well. A big fist pump, he's happy with that. Jack Ginnivan on the board.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
So the Eagles goalless in the opening quarter. Here's a positive spin, though, for you West Coast fans. It's the third time this year they've been goalless at quarter time. They won those other two games.
Oh, right. There you go.
Let's see what
it's not all doom and gloom then.
Let's see what we got ahead of us. Collingwood 4-1, West Coast 4 behinds at quarter time. Brett Delidio and Brendan Goddard.
I know what we've got ahead of us is a lot of rain.
Oh, Jane. Yeah, here she comes.
Yeah, Mike Larkin, weather update.
Yep.
Just backing up what Jess said earlier, down the boundary, there's a serious rain band coming, and it'll be here for, let's just say, an hour.
Okay.
Nice cold front. But what we did see there, Lids, is we may mention just in the break that West Coast, they've got 3 more inside 50s, 14 to 11, but those inside 50s and the shots they were given and the marks inside 50s are all wide against the boundary. They're low percentage because I feel the slow build-up just allows the defence to get back, clog up all the dangerous space. So they're not able to break that line, that launch pad. Once you get it in there, that's the time to go quick. When they get it there, they go back off the mark, and that's the opportunity then Collingwood have to get back, even if it is a quick play. If they're able to hold West Coast up through that area, they're able to get numbers back, and then their opportunities to find isolation or hit someone up in a good spot has gone. So, and then on the other side, Collingwood are doing a really good job playing, risky football, so to speak, as we highlighted.
They've got numbers there,
high
haven't
handball, run from behind. The halfbacks are getting involved in on a number of occasions through second, third chain, not as opposed to that first chain deep in defence. So it's a bit risky, but they're opening West Coast up, exposing their defenders, which you made mention of, that they like to sag off and protect space, even when they're, arguably their players in a dangerous spot, within 30, 40 metres of the ball and a chance to get it. They prefer to sag and go to that long kick or expect the opposition to just dump the footy long. So doing a pretty good job at the minute, albeit that West Coast are on top in inside 50s, and they did control probably that first 10 minutes of the game, but again, it was a slow build-up and low percentage shots.
Without looking at the stats, what do you reckon the tackles are in this game?
Oh, very low.
Yeah, 7 to 8.
Yeah.
It's a very much a possession game at the moment. Keep it off the opposition. We know how West Coast like to play that way, but I've been impressed with Collingwood's run, especially coming off the half back line. I'll talk about Jack Crisp, young John Noble. I've been impressed with a couple of his decisions he's been able to make, coming back inside. They've just given them that little bit of extra dash coming out there. Tay Adams has started the game very well as well, and so has Geordie DeGoey. So they're on top. Can they keep it going? That's going to be the key.
We'll get down to Jess in just a moment. It is getting darker. The floodlights starting to take over. And the second term underway, the Eagles still looking for their first goal. It's the Pies by 21 as Grundy wins the tap. Adams, hand pass away to side bottom, breaks the Natanui tackle, hand pass forward, feeds Grundy, links up with McRae through centre half forward, kicks for Myercheck, well-weighted drop punt, and Myercheck marks 15 out straight in front.
Well, that was a chance. McGovern's, the overlap came, it was a bit of a scrappy handball forward, but he's then got to readjust. I understand the positioning at the start where he's in a really aggressive position, probably that 50, 55 metres away from the ball, that if a dump kick comes, which generally does out of a centre clearance, he's in a good position, but once the ball came forward, he had to readjust and get a lot tighter on Myercheck.
So Brodie Myercheck, a no-doubter for him from there. Through it goes, and the Pies have the first 5. 50 seconds into quarter number 2, the Magpies 5-1-31, West Coast 4 behinds. On Grandstand AFL, Brendan Goddard, Brett Delidio.
It's an interesting matchup, that one, because we know Brodie Myercheck likes to get on his bike and test out his opponent, whereas McGovern really likes to try and read the play, doesn't he, and see what he can, read off the boot and intercept. He was still trying to read that play as Finlay McRae was coming through and hitting the 50, but you've got to close that distance. You've got to be able to strike, don't you, to be able to stop Myercheck taking that mark uncontested, essentially at the top of the goal square, which was a nice pass and nice touch from the young bloke who's now actually starting in the centre bounce, which is, great faith from Robert Harvey to put him in there and have a crack.
27 points the margin. This is getting worrying for Eagles fans early in the second term. Nat Nui with the clearance, slammed it on his left boot. It hit the back of Grundy, who loped onto it, attacked the ball nicely as well. Taken off it was Adams. Ball still in and under a couple of players, including Petrocelli. And he's wrapped up. A ball up 55 out from the Eagles' goal. Mychek with the first goal in the opening minute here. Another clearance for Nat Nui inside 50. Ball sits though for Rusco. Hand pass, let his teammate down a bit there in Noble. Chance for Yo, who swoops onto it, kicks inside 50. Ball bounces on its point. Howe with a bit of work to do in the defensive goal square. Wanted to see it over. Gave it to Crisp. Crisp got out of the Darling tackle. Hand passed inboard to Adams. Retreats by hand. Good decision as well to Howe. To Magin. And then short pass finds Main. They can reset in the right back pocket.
So Main's going to go short to McRae. Jess Webster on the boundary. How are things outside, Jess?
Yeah, it's gotten significantly darker in the last half hour. The artificial lights are really kicking in. As we've mentioned, the rain is coming, so West Coast will need to get a wriggle on because any lead is harder to chase down when the rain starts tumbling. And just confirming, medical subs still unused, no major injury concerns for either side.
Thanks, Jess. Nathan Murphy, a sub for Collingwood today, and Mark Hutchings for the Eagles. Side bottom, slow build up and then kicks long to a pack on the wing. Grundy flew, or spills down in front of O'Neill and Yo. They collide, the two teammates. Pack forms. We'll have a ball up. Grundy's still a little slow to get up from the previous stacks on the mill.
Big Cameron come through with an elbow, I think, got him a little bit.
Some friendly fire. He's limping off too. Grundy will get Jess to keep us up to date from the ball up. Sheed, short kick forward, and Petrocelli takes the juggled mark. West Coast 4 behind. The Magpies 5-1. Back they go as Petrocelli retreats to Edwards. On the back flank, he goes all the way back to McGovern. Has it 30 metres out from his defensive goal line. He looks to the southern side. Long kick is too wide for Duggan and puts it out on the full. Jeremy McGovern kicked it 50 metres out to the back flank, missed Duggan all alone and puts it out of bounds. So Collingwood back onto it. Hoskin Elliott to Noble. Short kick to McRae, spills the mark, follows up at half forward, kicks inside 50 and Natanui back. Takes the mark top of the defensive goal square for the Eagles.
Let's head downstairs, Jess Webster.
Yeah, Brody Grundy is headed into the rooms for the Pies. He looked quite heavily winded, so perhaps going into the room to perhaps get those ribs checked out.
All right, we'll keep an update on him in a couple of moments' time. Hearn was called to play on from Redden's kick. And then a push in the back on this occasion. It's going to go to Hearn. He'll take the free kick at right half back for the Eagles. He's looking backwards. He's got a couple of options short. One of them's McGovern. And instead he goes to Shepherd inside defensive 50. Shepherd looking for a way out. Perhaps the switch is on again. He goes short to Duggan, barely 15. Hand pass back to Shepherd. Shepherd off the side of the boot. This should be a turnover. Crisp swallows it up, then kicks inside 50. Mark taken by Henry. He kicks from 55 to the leading Elliott, who takes the mark. 40 out from goal, 45-degree angle to the right.
It was interesting watching Jamie Elliott just do his work there. Good forward craft. But it needed for, young Ollie Henry. Get off the mark nice and quickly and be able to pop it into space. Just a nice, easy kick there. He's got the one already, Jamie, has he?
Yep.
Got the one already. So it'd be nice to get another one. He missed that one from a little bit further out earlier in the first quarter.
1 goal, 1 this afternoon so far for Elliott. He comes in, strikes that pretty well. It's coming back late. It's good enough. He has 2. And the Pies have 6 before West Coast have any. The lead now 33 points in favour of the Magpies. We've played 5 minutes in the second term.
It's just scoring at ease at the minute. Their last kind of 4 goals have come pretty easy, so that's the most concerning thing. Is take your hat off if they're making it hard for them. They're still getting through, but again, somewhat of a turnover in that front half and then uncontested mark and then just another little easy lead up. So it's pretty straightforward, to be honest. They've got to do a better job defensively. West Coast is really poor at the minute when they don't have the footy. The only way of defending really is having the footy.
Yes.
Defending with the ball in hand.
Doesn't help when you're your centre-half back pops it out of bounds on the full with a nice, easy kick out wide. But makes it very hard when you're a midfielder pushing all the way to where you think the ball's going to go, and then it goes switch all the way back. It's like, how do you expect me to get across the next contest? It makes it very, very hard.
Collingwood by 33 points. Crooked bounce in the middle, and we'll do it all again. The inside 50 count 16 to 14 West Coast way. So Collingwood have 7 scores from 14 entries. Up it goes again. Natanui, first hands on the footy, down to Sheed. Pack forms around him. Umpire lets them go at it. Still lets them go. Eventually Collingwood able to extract it. Side bottom to DeGoey. Hot hand pass for Quaynor. Eventually controls it, kicks it into Natanui. Ball ricochets out to Adams. He was tackled without it. He's going to get a free. Elliot Yeo taking him to ground. And now Adams can get the break for Collingwood. Goes on a run and darts straight around Natanui. Kicks inside the forward 50. Hand on the way through from Myercheck. Slips to Cole to the Eagles. Hand pass back into opposition hands. Elliott had it, lost it. Forward pocket for the Magpies. You can throw a blanket over 10 of them, and now we'll have a ball up. 20 metres out from Collingwood's goal at the city end of the ground. The Magpies 6-1, West Coast 4 behinds, 8 minutes into the second term.
Well, McGovern was lucky again there. Adams' kick was a bit of a spinner and it floated over Myercheck's head, but if it had been a good kick, Myercheck's taken an uncontested mark on the lead up on McGovern, who sagged off again.
Sheed to McGovern by hand. McGovern piercing balls, a good one this time, and he finds Darling. Darling to centre half back, finds Sheed. Sheed to Hearn. Hearn might keep running here, although he had to dive to take the mark, so he's on his knees. He hand passes immediately to Kelly. Inside 50, long piercing kick, and the mark almost taken by Allen, knocked out of his hands at the last moment. Howe to Imagine by hand, to side bottom. Side bottom's hand pass knocked down. Quaynor had a little bit of a fumble to Maynard. This is all by hand to Imagine. Back to Chris. They're still in the back pocket here, the Pies. To Howe. Finally, the kick comes. It's an absolute floater. Didn't do Henry many favours. Ball knocked out of his hands. Could have been holding it. It rebounds to Sheed. He's dispossessed by Henry. Henry in over the top. Hand pass comes the way of Sheed. Now a chance for the Eagles. Back to Cole, outside of attacking 50. He enters 50 over the top of Kennedy. And inside the forward pocket, it goes out of bounds next to the left behind post. 33 points the margin in favour of the Pies. 9 minutes played, second term.
Eagles still looking for their first in the game. 6-0 Collingwood's way from the boundary throw-in. Darling palms it down to Kelly. Great smother. Goal-saving effort from Tay Adams. And the pack forms behind him. A ball up, 15 out from the Eagles' goal. Nice ruck work for Jack Darling. Straight down to Kelly. And the smother on the kick prevents the scoring opportunity for the Eagles. Cameron palms it down this time for Collingwood. To Adams. Hurried kick out of dispute. No, touched on the way through. Spills to Sheed, centre half forward for the Eagles. Hand pass picked off. And Thomas just a dump kick out of the defensive arc. Up to halfway. There's a free kick for a hold. And Elliott just tugging the jumper of Harry Edwards, who'll get the free for the Eagles on the members' wing. So the Pies by 33, 10 played in the second.
Edwards from halfway, long kick. Allen at the back, couldn't get a run in it. Darling, the rover, hand pass out wide to Gaff, gets round one tackle, just got his boot to it, inside bottom tackle. Turnover ball though, to Goey, to side bottom, to Main by hand, inboard. Made Thomas sit and wait for it. He did well enough. To Adams, to side bottom, all by hand, and the further looping hand pass goes to Bianco. Finally, the kick, and it's smothered by Shepherd. Shepherd to Duggan. Duggan's dispossessed, just got a hand to it. Now Kelly in over the top. Ball spits out the side of that contest to Main, to side bottom. Now to the Goey. He pulls the trigger on a kick. It's out wide. Inside 50, Henry. Good mark. Very late whistle on that too. Don't know if he dropped it, but McGovern had it trapped in underneath him. If so, the mark has been paid to Ollie Henry, who's 55 from goal.
He's had a good 3 weeks. Ollie Henry goes across the half-forward line to DeGoey, trying to load up. Shanks the kick, and it falls in the lap of Darcy Cameron. And the lad from Albany hugs it to his chest. He'll have a set shot, 15 out, just left of centre. And boy, that hurts the West Coast defence. There's a helicopter on the way in off the boot of Jordan DeGoey, but Collingwood 7th looks like it's on the way.
Yeah, certainly didn't spin beautifully, that one. I don't think it was by design to land on the chest of Cameron, but you've got to be in the right place at the right time. Footy has an element of luck to it, doesn't it? But, yeah, they're absolutely torching the Eagles here at the moment.
So a grim start for West Coast. And hot pies early. They've kicked the first 7 of the game. Darcy Cameron slots it. And 12 minutes gone in the second term. It's Collingwood 7-1-43. The 7th placed West Coast Eagles are 4 behind. The Magpies by 39 points.
That high hand, it's working for them. It's risky. A number of times they look like the West Coast are going to win it back. They're going to lay a tackle or hold it up or slow them down, but they just managed to get through it. Oh, you just saw Shepherd just cop a head knock, and he has got a history of concussion, so just keep an eye on that. Maybe throw down to Jess shortly, but yeah, they're getting through. So they're exposing the defenders. Again, McGovern getting exposed there is in a really strong position because there's no pressure up the field.
Jess Webster on the boundary.
Yeah, good news for Pies fans. Brady Grundy's back out onto the ground, so that's great news. I'll keep my eye on Shepherd. He's still having a chat to the doctors out on the ground. He's just waved them away, but we'll keep an eye on it.
Straight back into the ruck for Grundy. Nat Nui. Hand pass comes the way of Redden to Sheed. Out wider still to Cole, who was running off half-back. Got around to Goey to centre wing. Chips to centre half forward. Grundy over his head. The spoil came the way of Howe, who knocked it on. The advantage there of Hoskin Elliott. Shocking hand pass. Did Bianco no favours. Scooped up beautifully by Kelly. Hand pass to Gaff inside 50. No mark taken. McRae. Hand pass to side bottom. Hand pass out wider still. Shocker by Bianco. He knew it as soon as it left his boot. Slid off the side. Almost over the fence. Out of bounds on the full.
Get him a fresh set, because he's kicked into the man on mark like nearly 2 or 3 times, and now he's just put it straight out there on the wall.
For the listeners, that missed his teammate by about 10 metres.
39 points the lead for the Pies. Gaff loads up, kicks it deep inside 50. Natanui flies, spills to Kelly. His kick smothered by Howe. Spills to Crisp. Hand pass through traffic. Wants to get it to DeGoey. He's outnumbered. Lost it. West has it. West rubbed up by DeGoey, who kept hunting the footy. Becomes the tackler on West. And Collingwood win back possession. Jordan DeGoey involved again, both sides of the footy. Goes wide to Noble. Hand pass to Howe. Kicks down the southern wing. West Coast with the numbers here as Rotham takes it away from Myercheck and then goes all the way back to the back flank for McGovern.
Wasn't a great kick to McGovern, and McGovern's kick to Sheed wasn't much better. Had to take it on the half volley. Went back to McGovern. McGovern flares it back inside defensive 50 to Edwards. Out wide to left half back where Gaff takes the mark. Gaff to Waterman. Still at left half back. He thought about going. He's called to play on. In a bit of trouble now. Had to hand pass to Gaff, who kept on running. Gaff short to Langdon, and that was no chance of being marked with a big fist of Maynard coming in over the top to kill the contest out of bounds on centre wing.
Bit stiff Waterman there. He didn't, I wouldn't say he went off the mark at all. He looked inside, maybe took a step in the wrong direction. The umpires called play on, which we've seen a lot of in the last month or so. They're calling play on.
Nat Nui down to Gaff, tried to duck the tackle. It's dragged in back underneath him. Ball spits out the side eventually to side bottom to Maynard. Behind centre wing, turns. Short kick is a good one to find Grundy just inside the boundary line and just forward of centre.
So winded a little earlier in the quarter. Spent some time down the race, but he's back on now. Grundy goes short to Crisp, not 15. Centering ball finds Roscoe, logo member side. Kicks across the ground laterally to Howe. Alongside the centre circles, pokes the pass forward, and Bianco takes the sprawling mark, dropping to his knees. Front edge of the centre square, just about every player in front of him on the ground. Kicks inside a crowded forward 50. Elliott the target. It's perfectly weighted for McGovern, who floats through and takes the intercept mark for West Coast. That's what he does. Jeremy McGovern, one of the best intercept marking defenders. He goes short to Kelly, and Kelly wide to Redden, who marks up against the boundary line southern side, pulls the trigger on the 45, finds Kelly, takes a contested mark. And the pressure from Adams and Tim Kelly still at halfback for the Eagles, still looking for their first goal.
He was forced to play on quickly, kicked off his left. Langdon came through the contest, took the mark, off to O'Neill by hand, chips inside 50, mark taken by Kennedy, and perhaps this is the first of the afternoon coming up for the Eagles.
Slightly better build-up, but they look better when they're almost forced into a quick play, when they have to get the ball in motion.
Kelly was called play on, wasn't he? At half-back, and it was like, oh, well, I might as well just bang it.
I have to go.
Langdon read it well off the boot, didn't he? And he's a decision to play on quickly and handball quickly forward just allowed this play to unfold, and Kennedy was manned up against Chris, which is well out of his weight division.
He'll kick from 40. Slight angle to the right. Josh Kennedy comes in, and he hits a left hand upright. Another behind. That's 5. It's their first score of the quarter. 16 played, second term. The margin is 38 points.
7 goals, 1 Collingwood. West Coast 5 behind. As Maynard marks the kick out, goes long down the wing, tucked away by Edwards, finds the safety of the boundary line, so the throw in front of the interchange. The fixture's been confirmed for tomorrow, so we will get all 9 games away in round 20. It starts at 12 noon Eastern, Gold Coast and Melbourne at Docklands. That's the first leg of a double header, followed by the Giants and Port Adelaide, also at Docklands. In between the 3 o'clock game at the MCG will be Essendon and Sydney, and the original fixtures of Hawthorn Brisbane down at York Park in Launceston and Fremantle Richmond will continue to take place over in Perth. So 5 games tomorrow, Sunday, of round 20 after the lockdown enforced in Brisbane. So as a result, those 2 games, the Suns D's and Dons Swans, have been held over to tomorrow, and they're now being played in Melbourne. After all that, Collingwood have got possession back on the wing as Myercheck finds Ginnivan. He kicks inside the forward 50.
Good hand.
Great work, Henry. Wrestles his way to the front with Cole and comes up with it. What a 3-week burst he's having. Ollie Henry takes the mark right half forward. He's not happy with the trip, so just goes short to Thomas. And Adam Simpson won't be happy with that. The loose checking. Josh Thomas marks uncontested, 40 out, smack in front.
I think they've got a clear intent just to lower lower their eyes.
Make them defend.
Make West Coast defenders defend, especially when they get in that launch pad, because that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for that dump kick to the top of the square where McGovern, Shepherd, Barras, even though he's not playing, but they're used to getting, and there's more pressure up the field, but they're really exposing those sagging defenders.
Thomas, first game back after missing one with concussion. This is one-way traffic at the G. All black and white. Josh Thomas pops it through, and Collingwood have the first 8. 8-1-49. West Coast 5 behind. 19 played second term. On ABC Radio and Sport Digital, Brett Delidio, Brendan Goddard.
Well, this is not too dissimilar to what they have done each time they've come over to Victoria, isn't it? Like, they've forgotten how to play footy a little bit, but I just want to highlight the work of young Jack Ginnivan there. I thought his decision, he was waiting for someone to make their decision to come forward, and he kicked it almost before Ollie Henry had got into his work. But nice strong hands from Ollie Henry, and then unselfishly goes back, and to sign a good team and things that they're obviously trying to build there under Robert Harvey's, reward the player who gets free. And as BJ spoke about, if you're going to sag off, we're going to make you defend and make you look silly. So nice little kick inside and a good finish from Josh Thomas.
They lose here today in 7th spot. GWS, Essendon and Richmond and Fremantle all with a chance to draw within a game of the Eagles. So are we getting a little nervous at this stage, even though they're sitting in 7th spot at the moment? From the clearance, Gaff, long hand pass back to Hearn. Hearn, short darting kick, reached on the bounce by Yo. Yo, a hand pass inboard to Waterman. It came off the side of the boot. Imagine with the big fist over the top. Hoskin Elliott was the first to arrive. He's in a wrestle there with O'Neill. O'Neill dragged it with Hoskin Elliott underneath himself. Umpire parked himself, holding the ball. West Coast free kick. No, in fact, I thought Hoskin Elliott was trying to stooge the umpire. He stooged me. Went back with the ball. And the free kick going the way of Cripps, who was the second man in over the top.
Run for West Coast too, Maisie. Melbourne, Brisbane and Fremantle on the run home, so there's no gimmies there.
So Cripps from 55. This would take his best. Kicks it pretty well. It's got the journey and it's got the accuracy. Well, in the understatement of the year, it was much needed. 1-5-11. 8-1-49 the Pies. 20 minutes played, second term. Finally, the Eagles have their first.
Well, there's not much to say. It wasn't obviously a great build-up. Came to the middle, a free kick, and a goal that we probably didn't expect him to kick. So I think they just got to let the shackles off in a sense and get the ball in motion a lot more, particularly through that corridor off the half-back, get a lot more run from behind, because at the minute it's just, you don't see West Coast backline defenders actually creating that overlap handball and asking for that little handball receive value from a kick mark scenario.
We've seen Hearn try to get it a couple of times, but it's always it's not to a forward 50 metres away. It's just that little 30 metres and then it's held up again. You know, it's not that continual overlap, is it, that speeds the game up.
Which then will catch the opposition defenders on the hop where they're playing up in front or being really aggressive. They're just not taking that chance.
Natanui misses it the first time and then just grabs the footy and kicks it hurriedly inside the forward 50. Bounces off the chest of West. Kennedy has a go at it, pushes off one, gives it to Cripps. He's dispossessed, spills back to Kennedy, links up with Natanui, tackled, lost it. Centre half forward for the Eagles. Yo puts his head over it. Tackled by Grundy, dispossessed, holding the ball. And Collingwood win it back with some desperate stuff in their defensive arc. And Brodie Grundy, the tackler, to take the free kick, spots up Noble. Now Collingwood trying to move the footy as they've done so well so far today. He goes wide to Maynard. Maynard short kick back to Noble, defensive side of the southern wing. Pies by 38, time on second term.
Noble, piercing kick's a good one. And he finds Thomas on centre wing. Thomas into the square. Side bottom on a long lead, takes it on his chest, wheels around on his left boot. He's got time to get back onto his right. Rifles it in. Bianco, did he take it? Yes. Paid the mark. 40 out directly in front he'll kick from. And the Pies can answer straight back.
It's a clear focus for him. All three players inside Collingwood's forward 50 there, went side bottom, actually rolled and played on. We're all running back to goals, and you saw his hand for those listeners. He wanted someone to come up at him, because I think that's at the front of their mind, the Collingwood players, and there was space in front of them.
So they daisy cutter, wasn't it?
Come back at him and actually offer a lead, because it's a clear focus for Collingwood.
In comes Bianco and makes no mistake in front of goal. He might have been shaky around the ground, but no such troubles there. Collingwood have 9-1-55. The Eagles 1-5-11. 23 played second term.
So one of two things have to happen, Lids, for West Coast. I'm sure this will be the messaging there. The defenders have to just play tighter. Stop expecting the dump kick, because the pressure up the field
isn't elite,
and it's not good enough. And then second thing, which I think the midfield coaches will talk to the midfielders about, is their ability to slow that ball movement up. Because we just saw from the half-back flank, Noble got 2 possessions, shouldn't have got the second one. That was just poor defensive work. I think it was from Duggan. And then it was lead up, side bottom roll inside 50, another lead up kick. It's like a training drill at the minute, some of these shots on goal they're getting. So the pressure up the field, their ability, West Coast midfielders and their forwards to slow the Collingwood down when they do win possession. And these defenders just need to tighten up, just play more defensive when your play's in a really strong position and within that 30-40 metres of the ball.
9 goals to 1, the 16th placed Magpies beating the Eagles here at the G. As West Coast get a centre break, O'Neill off the wing, shanks his kick going forward. Crisp chops it off for Collingwood. Hand pass to Noble, hands it all the way back to Madgen. Back flank for Collingwood, finds McRae, he's free. Through the middle of the ground, hand pass out to Noble on the wing, feeds it forward to Adams. Adams, short kick, wanted Hoskin Elliott, missed him. And McGovern off half back there for West Coast, hands it back to O'Neill. Kicks out wide for West Coast. On the end of it is Duggan. Breaks one tackle. Can't get rid of Noble. Got a hand pass away, though. Here's Yo up into the front half. Swings his hand pass further wide to Waterman. Kicks to half forward. Cripps the target. He's outnumbered. Maynard spoils. Roughhead mops it up. Hand pass to Rusco. Short kick to Quaynor. Defensive side of the southern wing. Magpies back with it. They lead by 44. An equal game high. 25 travelled second quarter.
Key win for the Pies because Darling was out the back as well. Quaynor keeps his kick low. Mark taken by Cameron coming up from half forward. Cameron into the middle, raking it in with the one hand, Thomas. Now he can go inside 50 with his kick. It's low and it finds Grundy who's floated forward. 40 out from goal directly in front. Too easy.
It's too easy in this direct opponent. Nat Nui, you probably ask questions, where is he at? He looked like he was struggling to find him in transition, about 10 metres behind him, but pushed forward, kicked it to that turnover city, as we like to call it, Lids. But they're up and about. They've got full confidence. They've got, hitting uncontested marks and leads inside 50, getting the ball back into the corridor, which opens up the whole ground. So they've got multiple options, but they're just being really aggressive, really confident, really brave with their ball use.
Grundy for his first of the afternoon. Kicks from 50. It's low, but it's long enough, and it's straight enough. A 10-goal opening half for Collingwood. 10-1-61. The Eagles 1-5-11. 26 played in the second term. The margin, 50 points.
we talk about high-scoring games and how the older generation tend to get hung up on, there's got to be... But how much better is accurate kicking? It makes it so much more enjoyable when a side, they get their opportunity and they make the most of it. Like I won't say it's a simple skill, but it's a great part of the game. If you can really capitalise on it, and well, they're up by now 50 points.
Well, it's really evident in big games and in finals when there's a crucial time and you have a shot on goal and you're able to go back and kick it. But today, or this afternoon, the shots they're having, it's all in that. It's almost between the goalposts.
Yeah, haven't been outside 45 degrees.
Yeah,
have they?
from top of the square out to 50 metres. It's really poor work defensively from West Coast. Not only their defenders, but let's put it on the whole team because they're not able to do anything well defensively at the minute.
Grundy wins the tap, and it's Crisp who gets the centre clearance. Long ball forward. McGovern leaves his man, backs back, takes the intercept mark for the Eagles. Short to Gaff at centre-half back, just kicks into space. Not a great kick. Petruccelli has to run onto it, cops an unkind bounce, invites Madgen in for the Magpies. In that launch pad, 70 out and half forward. Hand pass to Bianco, away to Main by hand, and he centres the ball. Short kick to DeGoey. DeGoey trying to place it on a dime, finds Adams, and Adams marks at centre-half forward. He copped a shove from Elliot Yeo, and Adams is going to get a look at them here from outside 50, just right of centre.
Again, it's that kick. It's shallow entry, but that's the one they get, and then they're able to either get the West Coast defenders on the hop out the back or find some space with the next kick, but they've got to man up and stop that one.
City end of the ground where Elliot Yeo kicked a memorable goal on grand final day. Adams looking for the extra distance. Shanks this attempted set shot, puts it 6 rows back out on the full and missed the behind post by about 5 or 10 metres. And the Eagles get it back last line. So the Pies by 50 approaching half-time.
Well, they turned it over as well. The kick cut off by Hoskin Elliott. Pokes the pass inside 50. Bianco takes the mark. Oh, and he's played on! Oh no! He's cost himself a shot at goal. He topped it just for good measure. A big smile on his face. That was very unlucky. And it finishes 10-1-61 the opening half. The Pies with a 50-point advantage. The Eagles 1-5-11. 28 minutes and 34 seconds that second term running for. It has been a demolition job here at the MCG with the clouds closing in as well. In terms of the goal kickers, we'll start with the Pies because there's plenty of them. 2 for Elliott and 1 each to Bianco, Cameron, Ginnivan, Grundy, Hoskin Elliott, Myercheck, Sidebottom and Thomas. And Cripps with the only goal for the Eagles in that second term.
The other 2 occasions the Eagles have conceded over 10 goals and a half this year was, of course, round 6 down at Cardinia Park against Geelong. They lost by 97 points. And the other occasion, round 16 against Cardinia Park against Sydney, or at Cardinia Park against Sydney. They lost by 92 that day. Unfortunately, it's looking a little more like that than it is a spirited comeback at the moment. Collingwood 10-1-61, West Coast 1-5-11 at half-time, 50 large. The Magpies way. The thoughts of Brendan Goddard and Brett Delidio. What do we make of that first half of footy?
We highlighted. I think it's more about West Coast and how poor they are defensively. Their efficiency for Collingwood is through the roof. They've had 21 inside 50s. Had 11 shots and kicked 10 goals won.
It's awesome, isn't it?
So they're West Coast are winning the inside 50s by 3, and they're losing. But there's the ball use and the build-up and how it's actually happening. So
and for people out there, to put that into context, the Eagles are the most efficient team inside 50 in the comp, and they go 1 in 4. So essentially, it's a score every, or 25% of the time.
25% of the time.
You come up with a score. So
they're kicking a goal 50% of the time.
Yes.
So it's not just a score, it's a goal. So it's crazy, and it's good how it's happening, but it's more about West Coast and defensively how they're so poor. Every time Collingwood get the ball, they're taking risks, high handball, overlap, and when they are forced into a kick mark, they're pulling the trigger in the corridor back through the 45s. It's impressive, but it's more about West Coast. That's why I mentioned leading into the show, they're just making up the numbers because this isn't indicative or reflection of a team that should be in the top 8. The way they're playing and defensively more than anything is really poor.
No, I totally agree. I think it's the way that Collingwood. I mean, we've spoken about how they've been able just to handball and link up, but they've marked it more than the the Eagles as well. They've already had 75 marks, Collingwood. So you talk about lack of defensive setup and pressure. Well, that's exactly right. 75 marks already.
And it's not the boring back half.
No, they're quick.
Back ways, sideways.
Yeah. The only they go sideways, when they're outside 50 to draw out the defenders, and they're making them defend. They're testing them out. So righto, you want to guard a little bit of space there, a bit of grass. Well, your opponent is free, and we're going to hit him up, and they have done that on a number of occasions. So really impressive from Collingwood. They're just playing with a lot of flair, a lot of freedom, going after it, and it's really caught West Coast on the hop. But I think I'd love to know what Adam Simpson's going to say to his Chargers here to get him, snap him out of this. But I mean, you look at the tackle count. They've had 16 for the half. West Coast.
Yeah, it's 20 to 16, so low tackling.
Well, it's a low tackle game, but if you're down 6 shots to 11 and down by 50 points, what are you trying to do?
I don't think they go to that. What's that? Their plan B is not let's get this game in a contest, because they're not good at that either.
No, so let's try and keep it off them, but they're not able to do that, are they?
Yeah, so keep it off, and that's clear what they're trying to do. That I don't think that's going to change, but the message is going to be around defensively about pressure up the field. Their forwards actually, the old rolling up to slow Collingwood down, get up the field to clog the corridor, in particular that off-ball side from their forwards and wingers. So, because how many times have we seen it? They've got the ball to arguably halfway, but then they get that kick back through the corridor, find themselves in the square, and that just opens up the whole game. All West Coast defenders that are in front of the ball playing really aggressive in line with the ball are then just totally exposed.
Yep.
So, and then on the other side of it, when they are held up and it's a slower play, just their ability, or their lack of ability, West Coast, to defend that little short 20, 30 metre kick, the shallow, what we would call a shallow inside forward 50 entry.
Yep.
They've got to stop that. And then they can't get the one over the back or find, because all they have to do from there is find a little 15-metre kick in any direction.
Yep.
And they're getting a shot on goal. So it's really poor defensively. Collingwood trying to play the right way. They're getting away. That I would say that if they were playing, a top 4 or 5 team, they wouldn't be hitting as many kicks, and they'll be under a lot more pressure than what they are. But credit to them. Halves has got them playing, as you made mention, with absolute freedom, confidence. West Coast allow them to play this style. They're not really forcing their hand in any way. So credit to Collingwood, and it's been really, really poor from West Coast.
Anything further, Lids?
No, mate. I think B just hit the nail on the head there. Really, it's much to do about Collingwood and their ability to take it on as it is West Coast and how poor they are and how bad they've been when they've travelled this year. I think
score some turnovers, 7 goals straight for Collingwood to 1 goal 4.
Yeah, There you go. So, and it hasn't been a stoppage game, yet Collingwood have still kicked 2 goals, 1 from there, and going really, really well out of just anything that's coming from that's going forward for the Eagles is just bouncing back, isn't it? We speak about Crisp and Noble's given some real run down there. Maynard's been impressive. His closing speed defensively, I think, has been really impressive. So, look at Tay Adams has had 21 as well, and De Goey's rolling around, doing as he pleases, really through the middle of the ground, hitting up targets and taking the game on. No one's putting any sort of defensive pressure or intent into him. For West Coast, Andrew Gaff's had 21. Nick Natanui's been pretty solid for him, had 13 touches and 7 clearances. So he's trying to do his bit out of centre bounce, but only kicking it at 20% from his 5 kicks. So, there's plenty of room for improvement from the Eagles. We'll just be interested to see how they start this second half.
So 21 points at quarter time, 50 at the half, 10 goals to 1. Collingwood lighting up West Coast in that first half of footy. Earlier today, 2 games played. Geelong by 20 points over North Melbourne and the Bulldogs by 49 over Adelaide. There were 2 games scheduled to be played in Queensland today. They've both been shifted to tomorrow, given the fact that the 11 LGAs in southeast Queensland have gone into lockdown. So as a result, 5 games tomorrow and a big Super Sunday of footy. It'll start with Gold Coast Melbourne at Docklands. Following that, there's going to be a double header at Docklands. So GWS will play Port Adelaide. That starts just after 6 Eastern time. In between, the 3 o'clock game at the MCG will be Essendon and Sydney. And as originally scheduled, Hawthorn will play Brisbane, a 2 o'clock start Eastern at York Park in Launceston, and Fremantle and Richmond to go ahead as planned at 3:10 local time, so 5:10 Eastern, the Tigers and the Dockers over in Perth. 50 points, Collingwood's lead. It's half-time at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. Let's get the latest from the ABC newsroom.
ABC News headlines with Satyam Weinstein. Greater Brisbane and surrounding areas have gone into a snap 3-day lockdown in response to a cluster of unexplained COVID-19 infections. The state's recorded 6 new cases of locally acquired COVID-19. All have the Delta strain of coronavirus. Meanwhile, the Queensland government's blocked professional sport from being played over the next 3 days as part of its lockdown. And New South Wales has recorded 210 new locally acquired COVID cases in the 24 hours to 8 p.m. last night. 88 of the new cases are linked to a known case or cluster. The federal government's picked a site near Jandakot Airport in Perth South for a new 1,000-bed purpose-built quarantine facility. The WA government proposed 2 sites, one near Perth Airport and the other near the smaller Jandakot Airport. The Perth metro area has fallen short of recording its wettest July ever by less than 10 millimetres. The city recorded 271.4 millimetres of rainfall this month, only 7.2 millimetres less than the record rainfall set in 1995. ABC News.
Weekdays from 5:30.
There's antimony, arsenic, aluminum, selenium, and hydrogen and oxygen and nitrogen and rhenium, and nickel, neodymium, neptunium, germanium, and iron, nanoradium, ruthenium, uranium, europium, zirconium, lutetium, vanadium, and lanthanum, and osmium, and acetine, and radium, and golden protactinium, and indium, and gallium, and iodine, and thorium, and thulium, and thallium.
Breakfast with Sammy J. Weekdays from 5:30 on ABC Radio Melbourne.
ABC Sport on Social is your sports conversation on the go. Video, player insight and analysis. This is the content you never knew you needed. Get ABC Sport wherever you scroll.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Grundy links up with McRae through centre half forward. Kicks for Myercheck. Well-weighted drop punt. And Myercheck marks 15 out straight in front. So Brodie Myercheck, a no-doubter for him from there. Through it goes, and the Pies have the first 5.
Chris swallows it up, then kicks inside 50. Mark taken by Henry. He kicks from 55 to the leading Elliott, who takes the mark. 1 goal 1 this afternoon so far for Elliott. He comes in, strikes that pretty well. It's coming back late. It's good enough.
Had a good 3 weeks. Ollie Henry goes across the half-forward line to DeGoey, trying to load up. Shanks the kick, and it falls in the lap of Darcy Cameron. So a grim start for West Coast. And hot Pies early. They've kicked the first 7 of the game. Darcy Cameron slots it. Thomas first game back after missing one with concussion. This is one-way traffic at the G. All black and white. Josh Thomas pops it through. And Collingwood have the first 8.
So Cripps from 55. This would take his best. Kicks it pretty well. It's got the journey and it's got the accuracy. In comes Bianco and makes no mistake in front of goal. He might have been shaky around the ground, but no such troubles there.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Sounds there of the second quarter. It's all Collingwood. They kicked 4 goals unanswered in the opening term. They kicked 6 goals to 1 in the second. And after leading by 21 at quarter time, they lead by 50 at the half. In the afternoon time slots, Geelong by 20 points over North Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs by 49 over Adelaide. There'll be no Saturday night footy. 5 games coming up tomorrow. The times all Eastern. From 12 noon, the Suns and the D's. From 2 o'clock, Hawthorn, Brisbane. From 3 o'clock, Essendon, Sydney at the MCG. 5 o'clock, Fremantle and Richmond at Perth Stadium. And then 6 o'clock, GWS and Port Adelaide at Docklands. So those 3 games meant for Queensland all moved to Sunday footy in Victoria. Just repeating, those times were all Eastern Standard Time. Half-time here, a 50-point lead for the Pies. Let's see what's happening day 8 of competition. Ned Hall keeping across everything in Tokyo. Ned.
Corbin, we're coming to the end of the diving semi-finals, and good news for Australia's Esther Chin is that she will be competing in the final. She's qualified in 8th position at the moment. Annabelle Smith is down as one of the reserves. Now, a lot of people remember the great Greg Louganis moment from Barcelona in 1992. Very iconic diving moment. We might see another one for, again, not great reasons. Pamela Ware, the Canadian, didn't need a big score to make it through to the final. She dived well on all of her previous dives. basically fell off the end of the board when trying to spring into the air and came away with nothing, so misses out on a place in the final. Terrible moment for her when she looked very well placed beforehand. Now the golf has finished for the day as well. Australian's Cameron Smith is in a share of 11th place at 9 under par. He shot a round of 66, 5 under for the day. He's 5 shots off the leader, the American Xander Schauffele, who has been out in front for most of the last 2 rounds. He shot 63 yesterday, 68 for him today. Keeps him 1 shot clear of local favourite Hideki Matsuyama on 13 under par, with Carlos Ortiz of Mexico and Britain's Paul Casey tied for 3rd place at the moment. But there's some low scoring possible. 2 golfers shot 7 under par rounds, so Cameron Smith may feel that he is in contention there. Waiting for the tennis to get underway as well. A bronze medal up for grabs for Ash Barty and John Peers, taking on the Serbian pairing of Nina Stojanovic and Novak Djokovic. That's waiting for that to get one underway at the moment. And in the Rugby Sevens, Australia due to compete in about an hour's time from now as they play off against the United States to try and finish in 5th place in the tournament overall. Plenty more still to come this evening, including the Boomers in action against Germany, and a big night on the athletics track with the 100-metre heats taking place tonight. Australia's Rowan Browning will be competing there as well. Henry Frayne goes in the men's long jump qualification. Matthew Denny will throw in the final of the men's discus as well. But earlier on today, disappointment for Danny Stevens, who missed the women's final, finishing 22nd in qualifying. But in the 800 metres heats for men, Peter Bowl broke the Australian record to qualify for the semi-final. Charlie Hunter and Jeff Risley crashed out. Curtis Marshall is through to the final in the men's pole vault, and Liz Clay through to the semi-finals in the women's 100-metre hurdles. Another win for the Hockeyroos, 5 from 5 for them. They beat Argentina this time, both goals coming in the final quarter of the match. However, the Aussie Sharks went down 16-5 in their match against Spain. And in the pool earlier on today, 2 more bronze, 1 silver and another gold for Kaylee McKeown, who's added the 200-metre backstroke title to the 100-metre that she won. Emily Seabon picked up the bronze medal in that event. Ariana Titmus got silver in the 800-metre freestyle, just behind Katie Ledecky. Kia Melverton finished 6th in that race. And also a new Olympic record for Emma McKeown in the 50-metre freestyle, breaking the record that she set in the heats. In the semi-final, she swam 24 seconds dead. She got straight back in the pool as part of the Australian mixed 4x100-metre medley relay team. She swam the closing leg with Kaylee McKeown, the opening leg of backstroke. Isaac Stubblety-Cook and Matthew Temple also swimming as well. Australia picking up bronze behind China and Great Britain, who took out the gold there. It means that Australia has 11 golds overall for the Olympic Games, with 1 locked away for tomorrow, with Matt Weirn guaranteed to win the gold medal, not showing up on the official tally yet. But Australia has got 11 in the bag, and another very good chance tomorrow as well. BMX freestyle. Logan Martin from Queensland. They did their seeding today to see where they go in their order tomorrow. He will go last. He finished comfortably ahead of everybody else, and apparently he's got more tricks in the bag to pull out in the final tomorrow. Natalia Deem in the women's event will start 5th from last. So good performance by her as well to get through to the finals. And that is the latest from Tokyo.
Thanks, Ned. Appreciate the update. Looking forward to everything that's on offer tonight. And it's very rare that we have an Aussie in the men's 100. So Rowan Browning, we'll see him compete a little later on today in the semi-finals. And Chris off the SMS said, don't forget our last boxer standing, who of course is Harry Garside from Melbourne's eastern suburbs. So looking forward to seeing Harry in action tonight. Off the SMS, the number is 0437 774 774. Hi, gents. Love your call as usual. Great form from Collingwood today so far. No secret that the players are trying their best to impress Alistair Clarkson from Frank.
Okay.
The Pies obviously looking for a coach. I think Luke Ball's due to work with us tomorrow. He's on the panel to appoint the new coach.
Clarko said he wants a rest, didn't he?
I wonder, Lids, if you were going through a coaching appointment process like that and the events of Friday unfolded, surely you'd have to just halt the whole process and say, look, we probably should just check in with Clarko.
Yeah, I would have thought that's just doing your due diligence, Corby, but
be the first time they've checked in, let's be honest. It's
just
100%. But my ears did prick up when he said, I just need to take a breather and see what's next. It might be in football. It's an off-season kind of is a long time in football, isn't it, to change your mind?
Oh, yeah.
When a team's coming hard for you and selling it to you, so...
Guaranteed to get his payout from the Hawks, is that right? So he gets what he's...
Guaranteed regardless. So if he goes on to coach Collingwood next year, he's still getting the 900 from
not
Hawthorn.
sure if that's in addition, not sure.
Yeah, it's not, is it?
Can you double dip? I don't know.
I don't think you can. I think they're saved in a way.
Yep. Andrew from Wangaratta says, "Hi guys, great call. Are the Eagles playing that bad, or are the Pies playing really well?" Beach, you answered that just before.
Yep. I think that the Pies are playing really well, but they're doing it on their own terms. So, you let any AFL team do it as they will and with limited pressure, then they're going to look really, really good. And I haven't seen the Eagles be able to find a way to win the footy or get forward and be damaging. They've been forced, I think as Beach mentioned, at quarter time, that they've been forced into wide shots. The couple of times that they've actually looked okay is when they've been forced into fast play and they've had a chance to, or they've been told to play on by the umpires and they've been forced to go a little bit quicker. But when they're going their style and slow and chip mark, then Collingwood have just been too strong defensively and they've turned it over and then they've bounced on them and gone back inside 50 and kicked accurately, kicked scores, and that's the reason why we're looking at a 50-point deficit at the moment. But Collingwood doing a lot right, playing very free and with a lot of flair, a lot of confidence, going for kicks that you wouldn't normally, but why not? I mean, if the opposition are going to sag off and leave holes, go for them, and they are paying off.
This is the last game of the day, so there's no Saturday night footy. The match that was scheduled between Sydney and Essendon is going to be played tomorrow. The 3 games in Queensland all shifted to Melbourne, so we'll have 5 games tomorrow on Sunday footy of round 20 to complete the round. Jess Webster's with us on the boundary. Jess, fingers crossed, still no rain outside?
Still no rain, but it is very imminent. I've just checked the radar again, and it's on our doorstep. So expecting any moment now to feel those raindrops, and I think it'll turn into a wet weather contest in the second half.
Well, I think it would favour Ben Maisie. It's fair to say the team that's 50 points up at half-time. Collingwood 10-1-61, West Coast 1-5-11. The 2 games earlier today, the Cats by 20 points over North Melbourne, so they lock up or keep that top 2 spot on the table, and the Western Bulldogs by 49 points over Adelaide. So still the Dogs and Cats 1 and 2 at the end of the round, regardless of other results. Second half action underway, the Pies by 50.
No one able to clear it from the initial stoppage. Pies by 50, as Corbin mentioned. It has been some sort of afternoon for them so far. What have West Coast got to answer with in this second half? Nat Nui over the top, straight to side bottom though. More of the same here for the Pies. Hand pass comes the way of De Goey, kicks off the left. It's a bit of a floater out in front of Cameron, who just got his hand pass away at the last moment and was held on to a little too long. Taking the advantage was Noble, kicks inside 50 onto the chest of Myercheck. Myercheck will line up from 45 out, 45-degree angle to the left.
Well, right across the ground, Beach, they're first of the footy, aren't they, the Pies? And just reading the situation a lot quicker, Noble picked that one up and saw that there was space in front of him. And Myercheck, we know what he does really well. Hit up at the player coming down the field with the ball.
Well, he kicked the first of the second quarter, this to get the third term off in the same fashion. He hangs it out to the right, doesn't quite have the distance. It's forced through for a rush behind. First score of the second half is a behind, like it was in the first half, and then the Pies kicked 10 straight to be 10-1-61. They're now 62, playing 1-5-11. The Eagles, a minute and a half played in this third quarter. Shannon Hearn's had another 300-gamer. He's just gone straight up the middle to Nat Nui. Couldn't take the mark off hands. Quainer to Madgen, and Madgen checks his kick at the last moment. Spoil came late from Shepherd. Gaff, hand pass around to Shepherd, who kept on running. Now up to halfway. Dinks the kick. It's not a bad one to Cripps either. Time to reset here going forward. Sheed running through the centre square, has his arms free, wanting the ball, demanding it. Instead, it goes longer inside 50. Howe with a decisive fist over the top and out of bounds into about row 5.
Did really well defensively there, the Pies, just to slow them up, not allow them to get any loose little chip kicks over, just to break up their play. But well done, well defended, and force them long high and bash it over the boundary.
Pies by 51. Toss back into play. Grundy and Nat Nui both at each other. The umpires picked out a free kick. It's going Grundy's way. So Grundy to receive it inside defensive 50. Hoskin Elliott gave it back to him. He almost kicked it back to him. Instead, decided against it, spinning the ball in his hands as he's trying to make a decision here. And just goes blindly at the last moment out towards the wing. Elliott didn't have a run at it in the end. Scooped up by Rotham. To Yo, to Kelly, to Shepherd. This is all on centre wing. Shepherd out wide. It'll get to Sheed on the bounce. Can he keep it in? Not quite. Out of bounds, 70 around from the Eagles' goal. So Adam Simpson, interesting. He spent the first 10 minutes of the game on the bench. Then he headed upstairs for the next quarter and a half. And now he's back down on the bench to start this third quarter. It's the Pies by 51.
Grundy and Natanui from the boundary throw-in. Falls down to Sheed. The tackle from DeGoey, close to the boundary line. Thomas picks it up for the Magpies. They win it back. Side bottom. Away towards Adams. He feeds a hand pass through to DeGoey. Kicks inside the centre square. Myercheck marks. Under the pressure from McGovern, they all stream forward. Myercheck just slows it up. Goes wide for Collingwood. They maintain possession. Side bottom marks. Chips it further afield to Hoskin Elliott. Just forward of halfway. Southern side of the ground. Pies by 51. Short kick to Adams. He marks between wing and half forward for the Pies.
Coming up for possession number 23 this afternoon, Taylor Adams will be one of 3 rotating skippers over the next couple of weeks. Kicks inside 50. Cameron with a fly from the back. Myercheck at the front. Worked the hand pass to side bottom, who heard the voice out the side. It was Grundy. Back inboard. Elliott to Hoskin Elliott on the boundary. Short kick. He was looking for Cameron. Was the spoiler. It spilled over the back of the pack. Eagles with the numbers. Gaff works the 1-2 with Langdon to Allen to Langdon, who kept on running. That was all by hand. Langdon with the kick now to Cripps, who didn't take the mark. Oh, I thought he got the ball, Maynard, there. He's filthy with that decision for chopping the arms. Has to toss it back to Cripps, who takes it just backward of centre wing.
Second touch for Oscar Allen. Super quiet in the first half. One kick, his stat line. Now that hand pass in the chain Maisie just called. So Cripps inboard to Tim Kelly. As Kelly sends his 13th touch down towards Darlene, who flies in the air, slips out the back of the flying pack. Grundy tried to knock it away to his teammates' advantage and then lays a heavy tackle. We'll have the ball up here. Half forward for the Eagles. 60 out from their attacking goal at the city end of the ground. Black skies now around the MCG with the floodlights well and truly in effect, as Cripps, his kick doesn't quite make it over the boundary line for Collingwood. Hearn keeps it alive, kicks it away to Yo, spun around in the tackle, lost it. Side bottom comes up with it. Hand pass to Main and spots up Elliott, who takes the mark right in front of the interchange. Pies by 51, 5.5 played third term.
Bit of a slower start to this third term. Elliott chips over the top to side bottom. They're working this around the boundary line. Side bottom to Noble. Noble turns it over. Poor kick heading towards 50. Chopped off by Redden. Redden to Sheed. Hand pass to Cole. And Cole through the middle of the ground to Hearn, who'd spent it before he had it. Langdon had, Shepherd had to come back onto it. Hand pass to West. Came off his knee. Petruccelli is tackled by 2 Pies. Quainer was one of them. Hand pass comes the way of side bottom to McRae, to Crisp. And now a chance out wide with Hoskin Elliott, who takes it just forward of the logo.
Looks all pretty similar, Lids.
It does, mate. I like the Pies' ability just to hold them up. Even though they're trying to get the ball moving a bit quicker, West Coast, they've still applied enough pressure and really challenged them.
Hoskin Elliott goes short to Elliott, and he goes shorter still out wide to Myercheck. And that launch pad between wing and half forward just goes short again to Hoskin Elliott. The Eagles with numbers back in their defensive arc. 60 out. Hoskin Elliott goes laterally to DeGoey. DeGoey, possession 21. First 10 minutes here of the third term. DeGoey just kicks a rocket to the top of the goal square. And they crash the pack. The big man for Collingwood spills down to Thomas. Tries to get a shot goalward. It's smothered. Spills to side bottom. Hand pass to McRae. A little fumble. The Eagles onto it. Langdon scoops it up. Gives it to Sheed. Away to Shepherd. And now by hand to Elliott. Kicks into open space on the southern wing.
Bizarre kick. It's turned over straight away. Crisp, who has a couple of Magpies for company. One of them is Madgen. He hand passes out wide to Hoskin Elliott, who goes just to the top of 50. Wasn't a great kick. Side bottom, got his hand to it, couldn't complete the mark. Now back to McGovern, who kicks a spearing pass into the middle to Kennedy, to the running Langdon by hand. Now to Petrocelli by hand. He flares it out wide. Waterman has to wait for this to sit. He can swing back onto his left. He's hesitant. A 40-metre hand pass backwards to Hearn, who fell over. He turned it over to Noble. That sums up the afternoon for the West Coast Eagles. Kick into the middle. Now a chance for Ginnivan, who kicks inside 50, and the mark taken by Myercheck. That was horrible from West Coast.
I'm not sure who it was from Langdon, I think, that had the ball in the middle of the ground, and he's looked again wide to Waterman.
How was
and Chris? Cripps, had a mountain of space out the back, just in lefty's vision, running back towards goal. Just had to look forward to the most dangerous part of the ground. They would have run into an open goal, and then the pressure came. The ground ball missed his kick, and there was a debacle after that.
Myercheck from 45 to make them pay. He kicks and delivers. More pain for West Coast. 2 goals for Myercheck. 11-2, 68 the Pies. 1-5-11 the Eagles. And the margin now at 57 points. 8 minutes into the third term, and we've got a light show on here at the FCG after that goal.
On a positive note, though, it looks like West Coast are actually
trying to speed it up.
Get the ball back to the corridor. There's overlap handball we talked about in the first half. We haven't seen their halfbacks get involved with overlap, in particular in the middle of the ground. They did it on that occasion, and then just that last kick going inside 50, they butchered, or it was a really poor decision just to bring it out wide as opposed to look forward where there was a heap of space. And then the turnover came, and then West Coast were all caught out at sea because of the poor turnover in the middle of the ground.
What was the theory from Jake Waterman? He couldn't even handball that far, and instead of kicking it back 40, 50 metres,
the kick missed him initially. That's what caused it all.
Comedy of errors. 11 goals to 1 Collingwood's way. Cameron wins the hit out, but straight to Redden for the Eagles. Gives it to Kelly. Hand pass over his shoulder. West passing through. Gang tackled. Lost it. Holding the ball. Free kick for the Magpies, and one of the tacklers, Taylor Adams, to take the free. Outer edge of the centre square. Cuts back inside. McRae unmarked in the corridor. Kicks straight down the pipe to Elliott, who skids in and takes the mark just before it hits the turf. And rolling over the top, theatrically, it was Dom Sheed. And now Jamie Elliott can have a set shot just left of centre from 40 out.
Well, how does Finlay McRae get that open in the centre of the ground as all by himself? But then, 1, he's open, but 2, he's just allowed to wheel around and just have no one coming in to put any sort of pressure on. It's like a training drill that you spoke about, Beach.
That's the most dangerous part of the ground at that particular time when they've got that free kick. And he had a mountain of space around him free.
So Jamie Elliott for number 3. His kicks offline, misses out to the right. Behind. Magpies 11-3, West Coast 1-5. 11 minutes into the third term, an ugly night so far for the Eagles. It's the Magpies by 58.
Now, we probably wouldn't be so critical, but we're talking about a team here that's currently sitting 7th. Corbs, you highlighted earlier, they've got 11 current players playing tonight that are premiership players and played in the premiership. Like, this is an embarrassment, just the way how it's happening too. So you can see why now they cop 2 massive hidings down at Cardinia Park, but it's really, really, really poor. Adam Simpson must be so frustrated watching this.
Another chance here for the Pies. Ginnivan inside 50, shrugs the tackle, gets to his feet. On the left, it's to the top of the square, no one home. Sheed tracking back takes the mark. Yeah, it's hard to believe they're in 7th spot when you watch this game in isolation.
The Eagles are ruthless, Beach, and there's been criticism for Adam Simpson as well in his game style. How much of this is effort and how much of it is style?
Well, the style, the offensive part of it's always been there. So I think moving forward, they're going to have to change that. So I think deep down they know that. But defensively, it's like they're kind of thereabouts. Like they kind of play that forward press from behind, all that kind of thing. But now it's just about effort, intent. It's about mindset, just placing the importance on defence. It's the players just aren't there. They're clearly not just buying into it. And it's happened on a number of occasions that we highlighted earlier about the 2 massive losses. It's not a one-off thing.
Kick from Darling to Langdon. Back to Darling, who's on the logo on true centre wing. Again, not a lot of movement up forward, so he's just going to go wide. Kennedy over the top. Geez, he made Roughhead earn that one as well. He might have caught the knee in the back. Couldn't take the mark. Main there. Short kick. Good one. Good hands too from Thomas. Had a lot of pressure from Rotham from behind. He takes it. He's a little slow to get to his feet, Thomas.
He missed last Friday against the Power with concussion. Part of the 12-day mandatory break protocol in place now in the AFL. He goes back to Crisp, and Crisp retreats inside the defensive 50 to Roughhead. Out to the right back flank for Howe. Kicks down the wing. And Collingwood again able to control possession as Hoskin Elliott marks. Straightens back up to Rusco. West Australian and Trey Rusco against the Eagles. The bright pink boots on. He goes short to Crisp. Now Collingwood taking their moment with the kick mark game as he goes all the way back to Howe, and Howe's long ball out to the members wing. Pies trying to find a way through. Quaynor marks short to Maynard. Maynard pokes the pass over to Noble. Can't take the juggled effort. Controls it at half forward. Hand pass to side bottom. Closed down by a number of Eagles. He's lost it. Hand pass picked off. Natanui with it for West Coast.
Hand pass to Kelly. Hand pass through the middle. It comes out wide to Yo. Yo loops it over the top to Kennedy at right half forward. Kennedy gets around one, then has to retreat by hand to Sheed. Sheed got around his man and then kicks into the forward pocket. Cripps was floating back. He left it for the leading Waterman, who takes it on his chest.
Again, though, it's really wide. It's a low percentage shot, so they'll be looking for a quick secondary here, but Collingwood have done a really good job. Midfielders back. Adams, side bottom, protecting those short 45s, and they're set up really well. So he's either got to force to have a shot or play the percentages, I think, and just kick it to the top of the square and allow his talls to bring it to ground if they don't mark it, and then their smalls to get to work.
He spins the ball in his hands, Waterman. Looks like he might have a ping at this one. He's going to have to kick from 50. No, it's a short play. Darling and Kennedy. Kennedy the leaper through his hands. West front and centre. Good tackle by Quaynor. Wrapped him up, ball and all. He was going nowhere. Ball up 20 metres out directly in front.
I mentioned the 11 premiership players for West Coast, but there's also Gaff, Natanui, Shepherd, who are senior players back in 2018 that were injured on grand final day. So an experienced lineup for the Eagles. 11 goals to 1 down from the ball up. We're going nowhere fast as Howe's gang tackled, and a ball up again. 20 out from the Eagles goal. Shots on the big screen here of Adam Simpson just watching on, along with Robert Harvey, the caretaker coach of the Magpies. Natanui wins the tap. Down to Jamie Cripps. Shoots goalward off balance as he's being tackled, and he misses. The near side of behind. West Coast 1-6-12. Collingwood 11-3-69. 15 played in the third term. The Magpies by 57.
It's their first score of the second half. 15 minutes in after they were 50 points down at half-time. Collingwood with a chance to get through the West Coast forward defence here. Roughhead leading, takes the mark, chips it over the top outside of defensive 50 to Hoskin Elliott. And he chips over the top to Bianco, who takes the mark. Bianco looking inboard, short kick. Bit off a bit too much there. Now a chance for the Eagles. Langdon, hand pass, comes the way of Kelly to Kennedy, who turns, snaps from 25 and misses. Normally put that one down for Josh Kennedy. Way to the right-hand side. 1 goal, 7 now, the Eagles. 15 played, third term on Grandstand AFL. The margin is currently 56 points in favour of the Pies.
The Eagles' MCG record in recent times actually pretty good. So they're 6-2 in their last 8, which includes that grand final in 2018. They obviously didn't play here at all last year in 2020, and only 1 game in 2021, so not a great recent sample size. The Magpies out of the defensive arc. Rusco under pressure, hand pass to Grundy. Grundy kicks wide to Maynard. He goes very wide with a rank kick and puts it out on the full. West Coast win it right on halfway. Jess Webster on the boundary.
The rain has just started to fall, guys, so that big band of rain has finally hit the MCG. Now I'm going to ask, how long do I have to sit outside in the rain before it's acceptable for me to go undercover?
The whole game, all night.
All night. All right, well, myself and West Coast are in for a long night then.
I don't think now's the time I need to remind you that the Eagles aren't really a wet weather team either. They're also 56 points behind, 11 goals to 1. A switch play here out to the southern side, and Andrew Gaff takes the mark. Right on the wing, 17 travelled, third term, Collingwood by 56.
Gaff, short by foot to Duggan. The governor directing traffic in the middle. Duggan is going to go long and high, inside 50. Kennelly gets to the back. Good mark by Maynard. Maynard to the top of his defensive goal square. Crisp takes the mark. Langdon's marched back to the 9. Short pass to the left back pocket. Finds Noble, who's been good this afternoon. Noble, not such a great kick. Forced to spoil on that occasion was side bottom as Sheed was closing quickly. We'll have a ball in 45 around from the West Coast goal. Toss back into play. Grundy over the back, Yo. Outside of the boots, he's got enough on it. It's swinging and it gets there just. I don't think Howe got a hand on it. He'd be a little bit more animated if he had. I think this will be called a goal. We're going to go upstairs and check anyway. Looks like he's over the line, so regardless of whether he got a fingertip to it or not, that is West Coast's second of the afternoon. Good kick from Elliot Yo. It's come 18 minutes into the third term on Grandstand AFL. The margin back to 50 points even, which it was at half-time.
Well, on a positive, they've stopped Collingwood from scoring.
Yes.
So their offence hasn't improved much, although they did kick their second goal. But it's still slow, build up, short kicks, struggling to find space inside 50 because it is so slow. Collingwood doing a really good job to get back defensively and help out the defenders, that being their midfielders and forwards rolling all the way up the ground. But yeah, it's on a positive, they've managed just to defensively just to lift their game a little bit. We saw that spoil just in the pocket there, a few seconds earlier to keep the ball inside 50, give themselves a second chance at it. And Yo...
That's an impressive kick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
right foot banana from about 45.
Like kind of something out of nothing, is it? Bit of individual brilliance has brought about their second goal.
Can that spark them?
No.
Need a bit more than that.
Not with, as Jess Webster's just mentioned, the rain just started sprinkling, but going to be coming down in buckets, I think, in about 10 minutes.
Pies by 50. West Coast in the middle, had it through West, a little fumble. Spills though to Yo. Yo's hand pass went straight up in the air. He ran onto it himself. Kicks inside the forward 50. Nice fist from Roughhead. Got the spoil in. Down to Howe. Hand pass to Maynard. Kicks to a 2-on-1 on the wing. A lot of work to do for Thomas. Can't mark. Slips to Cole. Hand pass to Rotham. Feeds a hand pass along the boundary line for West Coast. Crisp onto it for the Pies. Nice work, Myercheck. Taps it down to Adams. Adams hands it back to Rusco, and he kicks for Grundy, who marks in the centre square. The runner's Adams. Gives it to him straight away to Ginnivan in the middle. Slips out of the Langdon tackle. The tackle slipped, and he was legged. And Jack Ginnivan to take it right in the middle of the G. Pies by 50.
Just slowed Collingwood's momentum. He kicks inside 50, and the mark taken by Henry. It was third in line. It got over the initial contest between Myercheck and Cole, who was tracking back, and fell on his chest.
It wasn't by design, that kick, but well read by young Ollie Henry, just following up behind Brodie Myercheck. He's been a little bit unlucky, Myercheck, today. He's presented really well, and McGovern's dropped off him quite a few times. He's just had the ball lobbed over his head.
Henry to kick from just inside 50. Lopes in, high kick. Long kick, it's missed to the right. One behind. So Collingwood, 1 goal 3 in this second term after they kicked 10 goals 1 in the opening half. The margin is 51 points in favour of the Pies.
Got a good set of hands, Ollie Henry.
Yeah, he does. Had a birthday during the week, turned 19 on Thursday. Kicked 5 in his last 2 starts. Still looking for his first of the day.
Still looking for his licence too, mind you.
Wow.
Drives an electric scooter instead.
Does he?
Yep.
Close enough to the training? Just to...
Rides in, takes him about 8-10 minutes. Loves it.
The Eagles in the back half. Waterman's got some problems. The 1-2 with Shepherd, and then he retreats back to Edwards. Top of the defensive goal square. Kicks to centre half back. Mark taken by O'Neill, who then, Redden rather, who marks and then kicks out to Allen. Has it broadcast wing, pulls the kick back inboard to Langdon, gives it back to Oscar Allen, floats a kick inside the forward 50, not a good one for O'Neill. And in the end, Madgen can mop it up, top of the defensive goal square for Collingwood. Hand pass to Maynard, kicks to DeGoey. He's had plenty of it, Jordan DeGoey, possession 23 here, he's in front of the behind post, last line of defence, Pies by 51.
Thought about pulling the trigger too. He goes right across the face of goal. Main up, couldn't take the mark at ground level. Rusco was strong in the contest, takes a bounce as well, got around Robin. And then the kick is okay too to Adams, tracking back with the flight of the ball. He swings onto his left boot. Hoskin Elliott's all on his own, left half forward. He takes a bounce. He gets to 50, pokes the pass inside. Oh, just over the head of Ginnivan, who had one hand to it, couldn't complete the mark. West Coast come away with it. Duggan to Yo. Yo back to true centre half back. The mark taken by Redden. Redden flares it out wide. It just gets over the fingertips of Noble, and Allen takes it on his knees.
Lays it off to the runner, Gaff. And that southern wing, he's got Cole on his outside, and in the end, Gaff just kicks it dangerously to a one-on-one, and Maynard intercepts. Takes the mark for Collingwood, kicks up into the front half for Cameron. Pokes the pass, not a good one for Bianco. And an intercept on every second possession at the moment. It's Edwards here for West Coast. Long kick to centre half forward. Petricelli outnumbered horribly. And the numbers win out for the Magpies. Crisp to Rusco. Kicks in the middle for Hoskin Elliott.
Well, his numbers everywhere here. Hand pass to the Goey. He flares it out to left half forward. Mark taken by Myercheck, who just wants to slow things down a bit. Plenty of Eagles have tracked back inside, attacking 50 for the Pies. Elliott comes off the bench. Myercheck kicks inside 50. 3-on-1 here. Cameron did well enough to create the contest as well. Didn't take the mark. Nat Nui out over the top, and Edwards at ground level, happy enough to see it over for a throw-in.
Fair to say this has been a very ugly quarter of footy?
Yep.
We had a goal each in the term.
I reckon ugly's generous too. Toss back into play. Nat Nui down to Rotham, who just kicks into the centre circles. It's all Magpies there. They almost argue over it. Quainer couldn't come up with the answer. He finally got the hand pass away to Magin, and then short by Maynard to Roughhead, and out wider still to Grundy.
There's been a lot of this between the arcs. Only 15 inside 50s in the quarter, and the tackle count only 17 for the term. And here's Chris Main in front of the benches. Collingwood by 51 points. Main looks inside the forward 50, draws Rotham on the mark, closes to 70 out, pokes a pass inside 50, and Allen intercepts for West Coast. Final 20 seconds here of the third term. The rain looks like it's stopped, which is good news momentarily, particularly for Jess, who's one of the few people in the stands. On the boundary for us, a free kick for Kennedy here, who copped a shove from Main in the marking contest. Collingwood did all their damage in the first half. They kicked the first 8 of the game. It was 50 points the margin at half-time. We've had a goal each in this third term as Kennedy finds Waterman right on the bell. So that's 3 quarters done. 51 points, Collingwood's lead, 11-4-70, West Coast 2-7-19. Pies goal kickers, 2 for Myercheck, 2 for Elliott, and then singles to Grundy, Bianco, Cameron, Sidebottom, Thomas, Hoskin Elliott and Ginnivan. While for West Coast, 1 to Cripps and 1 to Yo. 11 goals to 2. 3-quarter time at the MCG. The thoughts of Brendan Goddard and Brett Delidio coming up on ABC Radio, Sport Digital and ABC News Radio. This is Grandstand AFL.
This week on the Sammy J Snack Pack podcast, entertainer Jimmy Reese thinks horses should be banned from the Olympics.
The horses can have their own Olympics.
Gold medalist Kieran Perkins has swapped the pool for finance.
I'm a very happily retired athlete who gets up at the last minute when my alarm demands it.
Promoter Michael Chugg waxes on vaxxers.
Eric Clapton's always had a weird outlook on life.
And do you know what furky tootling means? The Sammy J Snack Pack podcast. Available now on the ABC Listen app and wherever you get your podcasts.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
The Hearn who fell over, he turned it over to Noble. That sums up the afternoon for the West Coast Eagles. Kick into the middle. Now a chance for Ginnivan, who kicks inside 50 in the mark taken by Myercheck. Myercheck from 45 to make them pay. He kicks and delivers. More pain for West Coast. Grundy over the back, Yo, outside of the boots, he's got enough on it, it's swinging and it gets there just.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Sounds there of the third quarter, so just a goal each in that term of footy. And a big hello to our audience throughout the northern states who have joined us on ABC Sport Digital. So for those of you in particular throughout Canberra, Sydney and Brisbane, no NRL played today, so hopeful of trying to get an exemption and some footy up and running in southeast Queensland tomorrow as 11 LGAs have gone into lockdown, so the first of what is at the moment a 4-day lockdown for the greater Brisbane area and throughout southeast Queensland. The AFL, there's been implications for them as well. They've had to get 6 teams out of southeast Queensland. They're all coming to Victoria, and there'll be 5 games played tomorrow. It means that we've just got a quarter ahead of us here at the MCG for the last of 3 games. Saturday footy of round 20. Earlier, Geelong by 20 points over North. The Dogs by 49 over Adelaide. And 3-quarter time here, it's Collingwood by 51. Brett Delidio and Brendan Goddard.
Well, that was a short quarter. That means there was hardly any goals kicked, just 2 for the quarter. I think from a positive point of view for West Coast, they stopped Collingwood from scoring, which was a massive concern for them and obviously struggled with in the first half. But from that, they slowed the game down defensively for Collingwood. So it looked like they were still trying to play with the same intent, but they just didn't have the options because defensively West Coast were a lot better. They had their forwards up this time, up in play, as opposed to...
Then they had no one to kick to.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. That you're right there. But then West Coast, I think there was a bit of an intent and a clear message at half-time just to get a bit of speed in the game, because what was working for them... what wasn't working for them was their current chip mark, kind of high possession game, which they weren't winning that either, because when Collingwood won it, they were winning that battle and they couldn't get it off them in the first half. So
look at the marks, 127 to 81. Yeah. And then West Coast are known for their chip mark game.
Yep.
You know, it's just speaks volumes about how they've been able to defend the ground, haven't they? They haven't been able to. Collingwood have done as they please.
Can't get it back off Collingwood, which is a struggle too. We're talking about Collingwood, which is a bottom, or are they now bottom 14, and they can't get the ball off them. So that's why it's it's even staggering to think that if Collingwood just had been a little bit cleaner, especially in the first half, with their boys going inside 50, the margin could be 15 goals.
Exactly. How many times have they gone in but just put it over the head of a leading forward?
Missed kick was the right decision.
Got it smothered. Poor Bianco, he's had a couple of smothered kicks, and he obviously missed his chance to kick another goal on the siren before. But you look at, for the Eagles, Andrew Gaff is their leading disposal winner. He's had 26. Only 3 of those have been contested, yet he's kicking it at 54%. So what's happening there with his ball? He's usually very sound by foot, but that's almost been a little bit their night, hasn't it?
At 26,
the numbers are still okay, though. They're not kicking it putridly. They're still at 71%, which is okay, but they're just not doing anything with it. They haven't looked like it, have they?
There's no efficiency to it. Directional, short, wide. So when they do get an opportunity to kick it inside 50 again, their shots are low percentage.
Well, their only goal came from an unbelievable snap from 45 out from Elliot Yeo. So it's the way they're trying to construct their forward ball movement has just looked all at sea, hasn't it? They just haven't had any sort of dare or dash. And on the flip side, Collingwood have had exactly that. Their ability to take the game on and challenge and break that bubble of West Coast has been excellent all night.
Neither medical sub's been used, so Nathan Murphy and Mark Hutchings. Did we get much rain in that? Oh, I was about to say the rain stopped, Jess, but that's certainly not the case as I look out the window, and the rain is certainly still coming down.
Yeah, no, it did stop momentarily, but it's a light drizzle at the moment, but it's just warming up. So you never know, maybe it'll just hold off for the remainder of this match, but there's definitely a lot of rain coming, so it's just a wait and see.
We got a quarter to go, 51 points, the Pies lead as Natanui feeds it straight to Sheed. Hand pass out to the wing for Gaff. He kicks inside the forward 50. Darling's got it. A juggled mark, and on the second crack, he hugs it to his chest, and Jack Darling can have a set shot here, left half forward from 30 out.
He's been unsighted for most of the night, so like all their forwards, they've struggled, but they're saying that they've inside 50s are 32 each, so they've had just as many opportunities as Collingwood's, but the way it's gone in there, the lack of space, isolation, they just haven't had it all night.
His first scoring shot of the game, Jack Darling pulls the trigger on his drop punt. It's good. So kicked 2 in a row, West Coast. Either side of 3-quarter time. And just their third of the night, West Coast moved to 3-7-25. Collingwood 11-4-70. They did the damage with the first 8 of the game. We're 60 seconds into quarter number 4. Pies by 45.
Simple game, isn't it, Corbs? When you just get it out of the middle, flip it out to your winger and drive it in quickly, give your big key forwards half a chance, and within the V in front of goal means you're not having set shots from right out on the boundary, ridiculous angles. Perfect start for West Coast. I'm not going to say they're a chance.
No, you're not even going to go down that path. Go on.
That was a gag.
Full stop.
Sarcasm.
Full stop.
No, very
you
good.
were thinking
goal.
it. You thought it.
I'm just trying to give the listeners some positivity.
Well, only need another 8.
Yeah, and that can happen. Never seen it though.
Ball back in the middle. Nat Nui over the top. Grundy won it down. Kelly, another centre clearance coming up here for the Eagles. Sheed kicks a floater, gets to the top of 50. Petruccelli knocks it to the advantage of Gaff, who went without it. Quainer there, his hand pass knocked down. Ball spurts back into the middle. Crisp kicks it off the ground. It gets to the centre square. Sheed tries to spin out of the Degoe tackle. He's going nowhere. And locked up inside the centre square.
I said the 6 teams the AFL had to get out of Queensland. One listener just loves to point out Port Adelaide didn't travel to Queensland. They were still in Melbourne. The other team I was referring to were the Brisbane Lions, who went to Tasmania. So they're the 6. Just to square that one up off the SMS.
Thank you very much, Corbin. On the wing now. Noble has an option out the back. That's Main. He goes by hand to Degoe. He's ushering his troops forward. Got nothing, so he went the barrel and kicked it out of bounds on the full. It was like kicking to your mates in the park.
Maybe if he'd kicked a proper barrel and a good one, it was going straight down West Coast Road. There's 2 guys sitting as the last line of defence.
3 minutes into the final term, 45 points the Pies lead. McGovern goes long to a contest on the wing. Darling spoils to the boundary line, and West came straight on through the interchange gates. Grabs the footy, hand pass to Yo, kicks quickly to Kennedy. One-on-one with Roughhead. Roughhead spoils. Down to ground it comes in front of Madge, and he's tackled by Petruccelli, taken to ground. And a ball up, 50 out from the Eagles' goal. Pull it all apart post-game. 3 matches today. No Saturday night footy. From the ball up, Natanui grabs it out of the ruck, kicks it into the pocket. Kennedy collects, and he's helped over the boundary line. So a throw in forward pocket for the Eagles. They're coming home to the punt road end. 11-4 to 3-7. Collingwood by 45 points.
Ball to be thrown back in. Natanui and Grundy in the ruck again. Natanui with front position. Down to Kelly. Ball spills away from him. Crisp. Hand pass to Adams. Adams to the top of the square. Time there for Roughhead to make a decision. Hand pass to Degoe, to Madgen. Now to Howe. Howe kicks off his left. It skirts the boundary line. I reckon it landed on the line and then out of bounds for a ball in. 50 out from the West Coast goal. 45 points the margin in favour of the Pies. West Coast with the last 2. Thrown back into play. Natanui through his hands. Bianco looking to draw the man. Went the hand pass to McRae. McRae down the throat. Nice pass there of Cameron. And Cameron flares it back inside to Crisp, who takes it at left half back.
So Crisp retreats all the way into the defensive 50. Put it between Roughhead and Madgen. Darling there for the Eagles. Roughhead collects on the bounce. Hand pass over to Madgen. Off the back flank. Almost tackled as he kicks. Got it out to Howe. Lifts a hand pass to Rusco. In front of the interchange. Kicks in the Elliott direction. Hitting up. Can't mark. Spills to Noble front and centre. Collingwood maintain possession. To Main. To Crisp. To Rusco. Short kick to Quaynor. Collects the half volley. Tumbles a kick to half forward. Or out to meet it. Hearn in his 300th. Tried to soccer it away to his own advantage. Spills to Gaff. Gives it back to Hearn. Kicks for Kennedy. Marks on the wing.
Hand pass to Cripps. Oh, back to Kennedy, who was swamped by Magpies. One of them was Quainer. To Howe. To Maynard. He works the 1-2 back to Howe. Out wide. Kick comes to Noble, who's almost run down. His kick just reached Myercheck, who was able to turn around, regather, then kick just to the top of 50, where Bianco takes the mark. It's all a little messy at the moment. Bianco's short. Didn't even reach to go. He was 15 metres away. West in there. He's tackled by Degoe. McRae ripped it away from him. Bianco. Hand pass inboard to Quaino. Could almost pull the trigger from 52. It's got the journey and it's got the accuracy. Wonderful kick. Isaac Quaino coming off our back, and finally After 34 games, he has his first career goal.
They were across that too. He was.
Did you see Trey Rusco? He was like John Aloisi after he kicked that penalty. He was off.
Yeah, they all got around him, so might have been a talking point around the footy club that he's played 33 games and yet to kick one leading into this one.
Give us one.
Yeah, good finish in the end. It's a poor decision by Cripps, I think it was in the middle of the ground where he just needed to turn back inside where the ball was heading to.
Yeah,
and he had Langdon on the inside of him. But the pressure came, which is good defence from Collingwood, the frontal pressure, that old chestnut, and then the pressure from Quainer to follow up on the Kennedy, and then to get back involved offensively, and then to finish the goal from 50. Really good finish.
Jess Webster on the boundary.
Yeah, Tim Kelly has come to the bench with a left knee complaint. He's got 2 doctors and 2 physios surrounding him on the bench. It looks like they're doing a structural assessment. While we wait to see the outcome of that, Mark Hutchings has been told to warm up against the boundary line. So not good news here for Tim Kelly.
And more go forward for the Pies out of the middle. Ginnivan kicks to the top of the goal square. Henry and Rotham in a wrestle. A free kick. It's going West Coast way and Rotham to take it. Adam Simpson mentioned post-game last week, it's a bit like the hamster wheel that you get one back and you lose another one. So Liam Ryan going out last week. They've already got Luke Shuey obviously unavailable to them. A number of other players, Tom Barris missing, out injured. They've had no luck all year West Coast on the injury front. The kick from Rotham is punched out of bounds, half forward for the Pies, so a throw in 70 out from the West Coast goal at the city end of the ground. 7 minutes into the final term, and that knee continues to be worked on. Luke Shuey on the bench for the... Tim Kelly on the bench for the Eagles.
Toss back into play. Cameron took it out of the ruck. He was slung 360. Ball spilt to the Goey, who pushed the accelerator. Kicks inside 50 over the head of Elliott. Shepherd there. He's mobbed. Nice work by Thomas. Slams it on the boot. Hits the post. One behind. 8 minutes played. Fourth term. Pies by 52.
No Saturday night footy, 5 games tomorrow. We're on air from 12 Eastern time.
Oh, yeah. That'd be good, Corb.
First of 3 games. Doubleheader at Docklands.
You're springing your step now, mate.
Oh, I have. Game of the MCG in between. Big day of footy, plus the Dockers and the Tigers over in Perth. Long kick out of the defensive arc from Shannon Hearn, and Quaynor takes the mark. So big last quarter here for Isaac. First goal in his AFL career, and now an inside 50 as he just puts it towards a pack in the pocket. Punch comes from McGovern, wants the safety of the boundary line, and Gaff keeps it alive for the Eagles. Tumbles a kick out to the back flank. Waterman collects, shares it with O'Neill. Back to Waterman. Short kick to Cripps, who marks for the Eagles. Lays it back to Waterman. His third touch in the chain. Hand pass away to Langdon. Shoots a hand pass out wide to Kennedy. On the run, closes to 48 metres out. Shoots from half forward. Josh Kennedy rolling back the clock. Pops it through on the run. And the Eagles have kicked 3 of the last 4.
Oh, fancy that. Bit of speed in ball movement. The overlap run came from Waterman. Good kick inside through the corridor. Once it's in the corridor, keep it in the corridor.
Ford gets out.
Forwards running back towards goal with space. And Waterman with a handball to Langdon. Langdon gone outside to Kennedy, who was holding his width on his opponent. And the 3 Collingwood players, it was Madgen, Howe and Maynard, I think, just got all sucked in towards the footy, which freed up Kennedy. So good bit of ball movement for the back half. Finally gone from end to end for West Coast.
Jess on the boundary.
Tim Kelly's been given the all clear by the physios, guys. He's just got some strapping on his left knee, but he's back out there on the ground now.
So Josh Kennedy's goal now in his past 17 games, 681 of his career, and he's 276th. And the Eagles, 3 of the last 4 in the game.
Good news, read Tim Kelly on the boundary line too. Chance for the Eagles in the middle now. West, hand pass to Redden. Redden had Bianco closing quickly, but he just lost his footing at the last moment. Allowed him to hand pass to Hearn, who delivers out wide to O'Neill. O'Neill looking inboard. Instead, he pulls his kick at the last minute. It's a good one, too, to find the lead of Waterman, who curl around and then kick inside 50 over the head of Kennedy. Maynard onto it, and his kick travelled 4 metres to DeGoey, who flares it out wide. Rusco runs onto it and kicks out wide. Mark taken by Myercheck.
Pies kick the first 8 of the game. They lead by 46 here, 11 minutes into the final term, and Myercheck drops back into a slow play. Goes back to Roscoe. So 5 games tomorrow. It starts at 12. That's Eastern time. Gold Coast and Melbourne. Then at 2 o'clock, it's Hawthorn, Brisbane. 3 o'clock, Essendon, Sydney. At 5, Fremantle, Richmond over in Perth. And then the Giants and the Power, the last game of the weekend. As Collingwood trying to work it up the northern boundary line. The kick from Howe intercepted. Redden takes the mark, hands it to Kennedy, goes inside 50, overcooks the kick. Wanted Cripps, it comes back to him. Off the spilt mark of the Collingwood defender, spills to Waterman, hands it back to Kennedy. One from right half forward, he can't add one off the left. From left half forward, trying to kick them on the run, the big fella, and a minor score. So it's Collingwood 12-5, West Coast 4-8. It's Robert Harvey, the coach of Collingwood, who's looking a little disappointed in the box. 12 played final term, Pies by 45.
Rusco coming out, not a great kick. De Go was able to scoop it up, kicked on his left boot, out in front of Hoskin Elliott, trapped the ball. He got away from him at the last moment. Now Langdon a chance for the Eagles. He hand passes inboard, the hand of Kelly. And the Pies are away. Hoskin Elliott takes it and goes with a bounce, lowers the eyes, hits up. Elliott could have gone back to Hoskin Elliott, instead kicks into the middle. The mark taken by Ginnivan. He's looking inside 50, swings onto his right boot, low kick, not a good one. Cole takes it and he's away. This has a real pre-season feel about it right at this point in time.
Yeah, that's a very good comparison, Mazzy.
Rotham, defensive side of the wing, long kick to Zach Langdon, the former Giant, 70 out at half forward, kicks to Cripps, who marks against the boundary line, 45 out.
A lot of tackling going on at the moment.
Oh, it's pretty bruise-free. West Coast have laid 28 tackles in the game.
Wow. 37 to Collingwood, so it's a team that's winning by 8 goals. It's not much better. Here's a stat, Corbs.
Cripps at right half forward. His set shot is really good, right to the goal line. Was touched on the line. Did it carry or not? It didn't. It did. It's a major. Cripps has put it through. That's a hell of a finish from out wide at right half forward. They all competed on the line, and they were all over the line. So the goal will stand, and Jamie Cripps has West Coast fifth. 5-8-38, Collingwood 12-5-77, and the Eagles have kicked 4 of the last 5.
You spoke about the Pies not having high tackle count. I used to run with this one a little bit. You can't tackle yourself, Beach. I think the Pies are probably doing that a little bit. They got so much of the footy, you can't tackle your own teammates to get them up. That's a nice finish from Jamie Cripps up again. So wide, wasn't it, that set shot?
What was your stat, Beach?
Well, for you to chase up is what's the lowest tackle count combined, all won by one team in a game of football.
How recently go back, though? Because early days, there would hardly be any.
Were there? Oh, that was when footy was at its best.
When footy was footy.
When footy was tough.
Nat Nui wins it down to Kelly, to Redden. Redden missed his target by hand. Gaff had to turn and go and fetch it. He was able to farm out the hand pass to Kelly. Nice delivery to Allen. His knees dug into the turf as he slid in. He's okay as he gets up. Kick and a half from goal. Not like that, though. He kicked straight into the man on the mark, and then the mark's followed up from a resulting kick by Thomas. Kick over the top. That hangs in the air a while, too. Set rough had a bit of a task. Hand past the way of McRae, out wider still to side bottom, who skids it along the ground. Henry trying to reach the ball first. Now there's a whistle off the ball. It might be a turnover. It is. Not quite sure who's given that one away behind the play. And it's coming all the way back to Waterman, I feel, and he's in between wing and half forward for the Eagles. He could have hand passed into the middle, instead kicks to Cole, who's inside the centre square.
Cole lays a hand pass off to Shepherd. Shepherd kicks to the hot spot, 30 out from the Eagles' goal. Allen crashes the pack. The ball spills down underneath a number of players. The ump says play on. A hand pass out from Maynard, sets up Roscoe. Kicks to half-back. Meyer checked the target. Can't complete the mark. Spills to Sheed. He's locked up straight away by Noble. Free kick. Maynard came in late. A little loose in his tackling effort. Gives away the free. In fact, it was Bianco, the last man in. So free kick against Bianco, and Sheed to take it. 70 out at left half forward. Still no call at play on as Bianco points that out to the umpire. He just decides to stroll off his mark at the end anyway. Sheed kicks it to the top of the goal square. It's punched down to Petruccelli. He snaps and misses to the near side, so behind for the Eagles. He's quite right there, Bianco, to point that out.
Absolutely.
The umpire never called play on, and Sheed was running 6-7 metres off his line.
Yeah. And I'm sure they'll be quick to pay 50 if he moved off the line pretty quickly without being... But it's important now, Collingwood, they're getting caught up in the way that West Coast have obviously got to take huge risks, get speed in the game, literally...
Oh, now he's paid one. Same umpire Beach has just paid a free against Dom Sheed.
I'm not sure he said stand either on that occasion. I reckon the players pointed that out and he paid the 50.
Oh.
Not much of a 50 either. It's about 40. So Collingwood work this up to right half forward. Mark taken by Noble. Noble a couple of options short. Taylor Adams yelling at the top of his lungs. He goes right over his head though, inside 50, chopping across. McRae, no mark taken. Thomas is waiting for the ball. It hits his boot and ricochets back into the congestion. And we'll have another ball up inside attacking 50 for the Pies.
Yeah, the Pies just have to be composed now as a team. Older players, leaders, experienced players get around to one another, just say almost go into that kick mark because they're just playing circle work at the minute. You may have mentioned it looks more like a pre-season game than it does an in-season game because no one's taking the initiative to slow it down and get the game on their terms. If it's on anyone's terms, it's West Coast because they're trying to play a kamikaze style of football to get themselves back in the game, which is obviously lost, but they're having a crack at it.
We've got a stoppage score. Bianco kicked it behind, so McGovern from the kick out goes long to half back. Petruccelli the target, and Crisp whacks it out of play, so a throw in half forward for the Pies. 17 travelled, final quarter. Collingwood 12-6, West Coast 5-9. It's a 39-point lead for Collingwood. It did lead by as many as 58 at one stage in the third term for the boundary throw-in. Nautanui down to Yo, hand pass to West. Kicks a torp on the run and well marked. As Waterman got his way to the front, takes it inside the centre square. Centering kick to Langdon. Hand pass away to Gaff. Looks for Allen. He's up. He can't mark. The spoil came from Roughhead and Collingwood off half back through Crisp.
He's able to find Myercheck with a good kick. Marks beneath the southern stand, right on halfway. Looking back inside. What doing there? He's forced to kick long down the line, you feel. No, he's going to go backwards instead. No, he's going to go forwards. It's a high kick too. Really hugging the boundary line, made it quite easy for McGovern over the top, who comes in and makes the spoil. Out of bounds, 70 around from the Collingwood goal.
Josh Kennedy just came straight on off the interchange, and looks like he's got the matchup here on Brodie Grundy. He's trying to call for a change with Oscar Allen, who's camped at full forward at the moment.
He's into the ruck. Kennedy almost won that one too. Chance for the Pies. Adams on hands and knees. He didn't dispose of it properly. Ping for holding the ball. West Coast free kick. Yo with the ball in hand. Right half back for the Eagles. It's been a sorry afternoon for West Coast. Down by 21 at quarter time, 50 at the major break, and 51 at three-quarter time. Margin currently 39 in favour of the Pies. Kick out wide comes the way of Cole, who takes it on his chest at left half back.
One of the 11 premiership players, Tom Cole, goes short to Shepherd. The All-Australian Brad Shepherd across the back line. The four-time All-Australian, Jeremy McGovern. He comes out wide to Waterman. Main went for the sit on the back of Waterman, came fresh on the interchange.
Got excited, didn't he?
Went early, didn't touch the footy. Free kick for Waterman.
His teammates are having a laugh downstairs as well. He's got a big grin while he stands the mark.
And he shares it with Sheed, who kicks up into the front half. Allen the target, hand on it from Madgen on the way through. It trickles out of play. Despite Grundy's best efforts to keep it alive, a boundary throw in half forward for the Eagles. Coming home for the punt road end. Earlier today, the Cats by 20 over the Roos, the Dogs by 49 over Adelaide. This is where the road ends, though. Last game, Saturday of round 20. We've got 5 games to come tomorrow, but no Saturday night footy.
Super Sunday tomorrow on Grandstand AFL. Grundy tries to wrestle his way free of the tackle. Bain in. Copped a bit of a high one. Umpire said nothing doing there, and he'll ball it up inside attacking 50 for West Coast. Allen down to West, shrugged the tackle. Hand pass out the back to Sheed with a long kick. It'll swing back late, and that's a nice finish. 50 out, Dom Sheed. 6-9-45 the Eagles, 12-6-78 the Pies, 20 minutes played final term. The margin is 33 points.
It's a nice finish from Dom Sheed.
The last quarter, last legs, 50 metres out.
Not bad. Fresh.
Fresh is he? Hasn't run enough.
I don't know. You're saying that. What's his day look like today? 22 touches, 7 of those contested. 4 clearances, 2 tackles. So he's up there in the higher tackle numbers for the West Coast Eagles. 4 inside 50s, and obviously that goal to finish there. So been okay. Hasn't been his best day, but he's been well down like a lot of his other teammates out there. But nice finish that one. 50 out on his left side to the boundary, just dragging it back through. Beautiful.
We've mentioned the tackle count a fair bit. So the tackle count in the game, West Coast 32, Collingwood 38. The AFL average per game this year is 57. Just to put that into a little bit of context as to what kind of game it's been, as Grundy wins the tap down to Adams, hand pass to side bottom, kicks wide for Ginnivan. Marks on the southern wing. Collingwood by 33, having led by as many as 58 and kicked the first 8 of the game. He goes wide looking for Thomas. Knocked out a play by Duggan, and we'll have a boundary throw in southern wing.
Ginnivan always stumps me, that one, because the drink gin.
Yes.
So we're going to start calling that gin? Or what's it?
The way we were told was
it's Ginnivan.
Ginnivan, like Papua New Guinea.
Okay.
Is the way to pronounce it, as opposed to the drink. But trust me, Liz, if you say that out loud, I'll end up calling him Ginnivan at some stage throughout the call.
We all needed Ginnivan after this.
Kelly kicks down to half forward for Cripps, puts it out wide and finds Waterman, who takes the mark against the boundary line at right half forward. So he's pressed up against the fence. The Eagles have kicked the last 3. They've kicked 5 of the last 6. He kicks it into the pocket for O'Neill, who spills it trying to take the mark going to ground. So it's out of play forward pocket for the Eagles. And we were talking about at halftime their big losses down at Cardinia Park. So I guess if there's a positive out of it for the Eagles, it didn't become a 97-point loss to the Cats or 92 to the Swans. They've been able to put some respectability on the scoreboard.
Thrown back into play. Elliott with the clearance for the Pies. Slams it on the boot onto the chest of Rotham. It's coming back inside 50. He's called to play on. He lets fly. It's a long kick, but just falling short there in the end. And Grundy was all on his own. Took an uncontested mark inside his defensive 50. Flares it out wide to the right back pocket. Main takes the mark. Happy to chew some seconds off the clock here by going back to Roughhead inside his defensive goal square across the face of goal. Imagine. I reckon that was 15 metres and the return as well, but the umpire see it, so he just calls play on. Long kick. Cameron, good strong mark in that pack. Right half back for the Pies. Almost could have been play on there. Cameron looking short initially, bereft of options, so instead he's going to run the boundary line and then go long. Elliott over the top, one grab, not the second. Myercheck spins out of a tackle, hand pass to Adams. He missed the target. Redden and perhaps deliver it. Oh. It is. He's paid it against Main, and I'm not even sure it came off him last. Shepherd with the free kick. Did the appealing, won the free kick.
It's been the first time Collingwood have beaten the Eagles at the MCG since round 19, 2016. So the Eagles winning the last 3 against the clubs on this ground, including, of course, the 2018 decider, as Shepherd's kick to a contest at half forward ends up out of play off hands. And the Pies under Robert Harvey got a little younger in recent weeks. In round 19, they were in round 18, sorry, they were the 4th oldest team in the competition. The following week, they were ranked 14 in that category. They had 5 teenagers last Friday night. They've got 4 out there tonight in McRae, Rusco, Ginnivan and Henry. Josh Thomas just coming off the ground with a blood rule. We'll get an update from Jess momentarily. Margin 33 points Collingwood's way. They're about to win their second game under Robert Harvey as caretaker coach. A shallow throw in. Natanui grabs it out the ruck, gives it to Sheed. And his kick floating inside the forward 50 is out on the full. So free kick for the Magpies. Roughhead to take it in the back pocket. Collingwood by 33 points, time on final term.
He kicks to Howe. Almost on his defensive goal line as he kicks. Short to Adams. Adams coming up for his 33rd possession of the evening. Short kick to Degoe. He's been busy as well, coming up for his 30th. almost could have been 50 there with the changeover as Kennedy went one side of the man on the mark and Adams went the other. Umpire let it go. Kick comes out wide. Madgen takes the mark inside the boundary line. 55 from his defensive goal. Howe all on his own in the goal square. Instead he goes shorter still to Maynard, who then gets it to Howe by foot. Howe called to play on, has to hand pass to Maynard. Ball bounces on its point. Maynard to De Goey by hand. De Goey out wide. Does he keep it in? Just. Mark taken by Crisp inside his defensive 50. Let's head downstairs. Jess Webster.
Yeah, Thomas has headed into the Pies room. He's just got a cut above the left eye, and it looks like they won't be able to stop the bleeding on the bench, so potentially a couple of stitches in the room. But with a couple of minutes to go, he's probably not going to come back on.
Thanks, Jess. Crisp kicks down the wing. Hoskin Elliott hand pass to Grundy, away to Henry. Henry shoots a hand pass inboard to Hoskin Elliott, trying to give it back out wide. Jamie Elliott runs back onto his right boot, collects 70 out, kicks inside 50. Cole spills the mark from the greasy footy, hands it straight to Genevieve. Hand pass to Cameron, away to Noble. Noble can walk it in and bang it through from the top of the goal square. And John Noble gets one back for Collingwood. The Eagles winning this final term, but it's been Collingwood's night, and it's back to 39 points Collingwood's way. Noble with his second of the season. The Pies jumped to 13.684. West Coast 6.945. 27 travelled final term.
It was fair to say, I think they may have got a message just to slow it down, going to kick mark, because for a couple of minutes there, the ball was
pinging around, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, and it was in the West Coast defensive half, and Collingwood just refused to kick it long down the line. They were playing keepings off, back and forth. Boring brand of football before they were forced to kick long down the line, and they've managed to get through with a chain of handballs again, which we've seen a lot tonight, in particular that first half. And then John Noble running into what was an easy goal in the end, but somewhat against the tide and the momentum that West Coast had and were building, although they couldn't win the game, but at least attempting to score and had scored more frequently.
Noble, the 11th goal kicker for Collingwood this evening. Nat Nui wins it forward, but coming off half-back is Quainer. Keeps it low. Nice pass to Henry. Marks it on his chest in front of McGovern. Henry wants to go quickly. Instead, he flares it out wide. Reaches Main on the half volley, who has a bit of a fumble. Then the hand pass to side bottom. Side bottom. Good pass to Elliott. Right half forward. Not a lot of pressure on the mark, too, so he can just take his time with this decision. Goes short by foot to Adams. Adams puts it to the hot spot. No mucking around. Waterman with the defensive spoil. Down to Cole. Hand pass to Kennedy in unfamiliar territory. Playing off half-back. Shocking kick, too. Straight over the head of Cripps. Howe. Hand pass to Quainer. Hand pass in the middle to Crisp.
So Jack Crisp comes wide. Finds Main. Crisp in his 160th consecutive game tonight. The longest active streak of any player in the AFL as Main finds Bianco, and Bianco short to De Goey. Possession 33, he won't get it. He's tackled over the boundary line. The kick wasn't 15. McGovern helps him out of play. And a throw in 60 out from Collingwood's goal. Off the SMS, Grant in Hobart enjoying the call. What does it say about the 11 sides below the Eagles on the ladder, given the fact that this is the 7th place team tonight, conceding the first 8 goals against the 16th place Magpies. Currently down by 39 on the half-hour mark of the final term. From the boundary throw in, De Goey hooks a kick forward. Hearn chops it off in his 300th game. It's been a lousy result for him in his milestone fixture. Hands it to McGovern. McGovern wanted Yo, and Bianco first there. He was crunched in the Yo tackle. And Bianco's going to get the free against the boundary line. 55 out. Well, in fact, he's only 45 out. And actually, he's pointing to the big sticks here, so Bianco's going to have a shot.
Yeah, you can hear his mates in the background saying, take your 30. Meaning he's going to take the full a lot of time and then no doubt just pop it to the top of the square.
Had a chance to kick one right on the stroke of half-time. Played on. I think by the time the sound actually travelled to him out there, we'd already heard the siren up here, but he was off, trying to snap across the body, and it cost him a look at the sticks. He'll take his full time here. His drop punt is sensational off the boot. What a way to close the show. Trent Bianco with a beautiful drop punt from 50 out against the fence at right half forward. And Collingwood moved to 14.690. West Coast 6.945. They've doubled the Eagles' score. 31 played final quarter.
He knew exactly where that was going. So it's right near the race. So It's always where the boys hover and have their shots prior to the game. Knew exactly what he was doing with his kick. Hasn't kicked it the greatest tonight. No. You wouldn't have thought. Beach going at just 42% from his 12 kicks. But that was a beautiful set shot right on the boundary from 50 and just knocked it straight over the goal umpire's hat. Knew exactly what he was doing. Been a very solid performance from Collingwood here. They'll be very pleased tonight, for sure.
3 goals in the final term for the Pies. Margin back out to 45 points. From the middle, DeGoey, hand pass, just missed Crisp. Cripps comes in. He's able to gather and kick inside 50 to Darling, who takes it on his chest in the right forward pocket. Helps almost over the fence there. And he gets back down and will line up. Tough kick this one. Fairly slippery conditions out there, and he points towards the big sticks. He's going to have a ping.
These are the ones they've kicked tonight.
Yep. Been where all their looks have been from, haven't they? So
yeah.
You should be confident.
And he starts his run-up essentially from the gutter. He'll come back inside the field of play. Kick from about 45. Right forward pocket. 5 metres inside the boundary. It's short. Cameron couldn't rush it through, and the Pies have the numbers at ground level. Main to side bottom, and side bottom long kick to the lead of Grundy, who takes a strong mark. And he can repel the attack here for the West Coast. Siren goes on a short and sorry afternoon for West Coast, and serious questions hang over them and their September ambitions this year.
Side by side they stick together to uphold the Magpies' name. See the barricades are shouting as all barricades do. Oh, the premiership's a cakewalk for the good old Collingwood.
Collingwood 14-6-90, West Coast 6-9-45, a 45-point win for the Magpies. They led by 21 at quarter time, 50 at half time, 51 at three-quarter time. And another convincing victory for them. 2 goals to Elliott, Bianco and Myercheck. Singles to Thomas, Cameron, Ginnivan, Grundy, Hoskin, Elliott, Noble, Quainer and Sidebottom. Meanwhile, for the West Coast, 2 goals to Cripps, 1 each to Kennedy, Darling, Sheed and Yo.
Good old Collingwood forever. They know how to play the game. Side by side they stick together to uphold the Magpies' name. See the barricades are shouting as all barricades do. Oh, the premiership's a cakewalk for the good old Collingwood.
Full-time, a 45-point win for the Pies. They did lead by as many as 58 in the third quarter. And it was all a bit elementary from that point on. The West Coast Eagles conceding the first 8 goals of the game. The 16th place Magpies, they get their 6th win of the year, so they move to 6-13. It's their 2nd win under their caretaker coach, Robert Harvey. While for the West Coast Eagles, they move to 10-9, and their place in the top 8 is looking a little more shaky than it was 3 hours ago. A 45-point win for the Pies. Brendan Goddard and Brett Delidio. We're on air for another 18 minutes or so. Oh, chance to pull it all apart. We want to hear from you on the SMS as well. 0437 774 774. The last of our Saturday games in round 20, the Pies by 45.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the result that I thought we were going to get when I rolled up to the game. I've had my reservations about West Coast, given the last couple of times they've travelled to Victoria, but it's got to be impressed if you're a Pies supporter, what you saw from them. But tell you what, if you're an Eagles supporter, you'd be asking a few questions about your side and their ability to travel and turn up, especially in your skipper's 300th. I know you probably, I don't know whether you're a believer in
milestones.
Milestones.
Hell no.
Whether you are, I know you don't even rate them, do you? It's just another game.
100s, 200s, 300s. That's about it.
Yeah, well, this is his 300, so that's a pretty good effort.
Yeah, no. But to give extra effort on a guy's last game or his 300th game is an indictment.
Well, what about effort at all then?
Yeah, what about just a baseline effort of when they play it?
Maybe it's a 7 out of 10.
Exactly. So
we didn't get that today, did we? So Bunga Hearn's probably just thinking, cheers, boys. Thanks for that. I appreciate you turning up here today.
I remember that one, all for the wrong reasons.
But, very good performance from the Pies as we see Big Bung, Shannon Hearn being chaired off. Good mark of respect by both clubs lining up and allowing him to have his moment. Although he'll be wanting to just get back on the plane, I think, and shoot back across the Nullarbor.
95th player ever in the history of the game, VFL AFL footy, to reach the 300-game milestone. So Jeremy McGovern and Josh Kennedy chairing him off. Just the first player ever in the West Coast Eagles, of course, one of 3 men to have captained a premiership at the Eagles. And just the 3rd player from a WA-based club to reach the milestone. So well done to Shannon Hearn. But the Pies by 45 points. Sorry, Lids, Beach.
Yeah, well, it's all about Collingwood, I guess, in terms of obviously the win and how they did it. But the concerning thing for mine, I think it's more of a reflection on how poor West Coast were. As you made mention, in the position they're in, 7th on the ladder, they were 6 points clear. I think you made mention, Corbs, that a couple of teams win this week and they're within 2 points of that 7th position. So they're not home and hosed yet, but it's concerning with, we've got 3 rounds left, and that type of football that is played, because I don't think any part of that is standing up in AFL finals footy. That was really poor. Defensively, offensively, the high possession game is just not working. It's not giving their forwards.
Well, it wasn't high possession. Collingwood's about 462 touches.
Yeah, that's what they still attempted. Well, they was actually better in the second half. We may mention that they got more speed into the game, overlap run, which they looked more dangerous. Forwards got up the ground a little bit more to help out defensively, and then had that space behind them to push back into. But my point was that their forwards just aren't, Kennedy, Oscar Allen, they're just not getting the opportunities, because when they do get it inside 50, it's just slow and numbers are back and they've got no space.
They had more inside 50s.
Yeah,
today.
So it's just
wide, slow. Numbers fill up, and then they just bounce back out of there, don't they?
Yeah, and so defensively, and then when Collingwood won it, they just could not get the ball back off them. So that's the most concerning thing, because defensively, how poor they were in that first half. It was shockingly poor. That was a display from a bottom 2 or 3 team.
Yeah.
At their worst, arguably, because I think if West Coast were playing anyone but Collingwood tonight and put in that effort, they'd literally, I can see why they lost those 2 games by 90-odd points.
Yeah, 100%. I think, what did we hear Dimmer say about our fans we don't like coming into Marvel? Well, I don't think...
West Coast just don't like leaving Perth?
No, that's the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? But, real question marks, and they were pulled apart, essentially, by Collingwood today.
I was thinking in their defence too, they've been up for a long period of time.
100%.
They're a lot like Richmond, so that's where I'm thinking ahead, probably too far ahead towards the end of the year. How do they address this? Because I don't see them having an impact if they make finals.
Yeah.
So how do they address this? Because
on the reset, you reckon?
Well, I think they could postpone it maybe by a year or 2, because they still have a number of guys. I think Kenny's arguably on his last legs, but still could get another 1 or 2 out of and contribute. And a number of these guys.
Hearn doesn't look like he's out of place still down there, and he's one of their eldest.
McGovern's is he going to play the old conversation? Is he going to play in the next premiership? And he's on $1 million plus. It's an interesting place, I think, West Coast, come the end of the year, and the decisions that arguably need to be made, where harsh conversations and where they're at, honest conversations. Are we just going to float on? Are we in the next 2 or 3 years with the list we have, and maybe potential couple of ins and recruits and whatever? I'm not sure of their draft position, but are we legitimate chance to win a flag in the next couple of years? And if not, well, then where do they go?
So clubs privately do their own projections of where they think they're going to be. My understanding is the West Coast Eagles were chips in this year, that they were contending to win the premiership, and by their own projections, not that they'll admit this publicly, but they are planning
inside word
from next year going forward. So as you're saying, Beach, that maybe this has been sort of brought forward a little bit, that they were also expecting that at some stage, and what they have tonight, they had 6 guys over the age of 30 in their team. Luke Shuey's out injured. That at some point they need to freshen this up a little bit. And maybe, I asked you during the call about how much of this is style and how much of it is effort. And you gave a good answer, both of you, to that question. And the West Coast Eagles fans, they're so impatient. They've been such a great club for so long. They've won 4 premierships, played finals every other year. And yet it feels like the criticism, particularly in Perth, is harsh. And it comes for Adam Simpson as well in the way that they're playing a game style that's different to the top teams of the competition. And so how much of it, if you can just, I guess, just expand on some of that as to what we saw today, how much is the responsibility of the players and how much of it is the way that they're set up?
Are you asking that question again?
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is a...
Or you can do it as purely just looking at the numbers, can't you? Essentially as to what effort looks like and, defensive intent. Obviously that they set up differently. And the way they want to defend the ground is guard space, try and stop their teams from being able to get through them, with happy handballs, so they don't tackle much. So just...
It's not the forward half game, is it?
No. Well, they're not a high-pressure team like a Richmond are, who just want to make it in, kick it long to a contest, get numbers around it, or when they're at their best, I should say. Not so much as much now, but you look at the numbers. Collingwood, 462 touches. They've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players, nearly 6 players get over 30 touches in the midfield. They've had nearly 8 players have double-digit marks around the ground. They've had 167 marks against them today, West Coast. So I just look at their back line and how easily they give up that lead-up, where a team's trying to come out of the back line, and what the best teams do is they don't allow that easy release, whereas you see that the Eagles just drop off and they go back and they try and defend the goal line, essentially, versus...
Yeah, win it in their back up.
Yeah, a lot of other teams press the field to try and keep it in their front end, and then it makes it a lot easier to defend. Your backs are fresher, which we saw probably from Collingwood a little bit more tonight with their half-backs' ability to bounce off half-back. So, yeah, I think it's probably a little adjustment as to how they're going to defend the ground as such now. And also a little bit of more effort probably from a few of their older, more experienced players, and what can they do to really drive the standards, but be not accepting of what's going on at the moment in terms of them defensively.
We came in thinking top 6 was out of reach for the West Coast Eagles, which means that they would have to play a final away from home and probably come out of the game thinking that even their place in the top 8 is not assured at this point. So if results go against them tomorrow, they could potentially be just a game clear inside the top 8. Their percentage takes a real hit here, so they're down to 95.9%. which puts them below the chasing pack. Teams like GWS, Essendon, Richmond, all with a superior percentage than the West Coast Eagles, who still occupy 7th spot with 3 to play. Into the Collingwood rooms, a big win for the Pies. They kicked the first 8 of the game. They won by 45 points. Let's have a listen to them sing the song. So the Collingwood theme song, the Pies winners by 45 points, their 6th win of the year. The worst top 8 team for a long time, West Coast, won't win a finals game, especially in Melbourne. That's from Michael off the SMS. Jim in Ballarat says, did the Pies tag Yo? He's chopped us up a lot in the past. He had 20 touches, Elliot Yo kicked a goal.
No tag.
No tagging.
No tag. What else we got here? The Eagles' defensive coach must be made accountable because the defenders certainly aren't. It's from Camo in Perth.
I like that.
This is Camo. Hang on. What's his number? Have you got that number in your phone?
That's certainly not. None
One of our own?
None that I recognise.
Benny Boy.
Benny Cameron.
Grant from Dongra. Very disappointing effort, boys. Well done to Shannon Hearn. He should have gone fishing. Great call, boys. So that's a little bit of a taste off the SMS, 0437 774 774. We'll get into the Pies rooms if we can, so we might just clear the votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year. Oh. Brendan Goddard, you've got the votes.
One vote goes to Steele Sidebottom, who's
skipper. Very good today.
Struggled since he's come back from that early season injury, hasn't he?
Hammy, yep.
Yep, so good to see him find some form, although it wouldn't have been hard for too many guys not to find form tonight, or did find form.
At least find the footy.
At least find the footy, yeah. Form's built over a couple of weeks. Number 2, who's had an outstanding year, was tried through the midfield at different stages, which I think his decision-making and disposal hurts him at time in the forward half. But Jack Chris.
Oh, nearly winning their BNF, I reckon.
Yep, most definitely.
Yep. Been a very consistent performance.
And the best man on the ground is midfielder's award, and we have to give it to the man that stats, we don't really care about him, but it was Taylor Adams.
Why is that?
He was just good.
He was 34, 14 contested. I'll read them out. Just 9 clearances. So he had one. Nat knew he had 10, so he was one less than on most on the ground. 4 tackles. Second
most for the
6 centre bounce clears. So he's very, very good all round.
Had an outstanding first half in particular.
Cheers, Grizzly off the SMS, just driving back to Lower Great Southern from Perth. As a Collingwood supporter, I'm wrapped with where we're going with the young players. We will always fall away towards the end of games because of the youth and the fact that they haven't had a lot of pre-seasons and continuous game time. Exciting times ahead under Clarko.
Grizzly.
Off the SMS.
Wonder why they call him Grizzly.
A Collingwood supporter, 3 for Adams, 2 for Crisp, 1 for Sidebottom in the ABC Footballer of the Year. The Pies by 45. 20-point win for the Cats today over North Melbourne. That was in the afternoon time slot. And the Dogs by 49 over Adelaide. There'll be no Saturday night footy, so this is the end of the line for the Saturday games in round 20. The reason for that, South East Queensland have gone into lockdown, the first of a 4-day lockdown after 6 new cases were announced today. So as a result, we've got 5 games tomorrow, including 3 of them in Victoria. The day starts at 12 noon with Gold Coast and Melbourne at Docklands. That's the first of a double header under the roof at Docklands with GWS to play Port Adelaide. That game starting at 6. These times Australian Eastern Standard Time, so make your adjustments across the country. From 2 o'clock, Hawthorn and Brisbane at York Park in Tasmania. From 3 o'clock, it'll be Essendon and Sydney at the MCG. And from 5, that's 5 Eastern, 3 p.m. local time, Fremantle and Richmond at Perth Stadium. So in WA, you will be getting the Fremantle and Richmond game. For our audience throughout Victoria, you'll get a triple header tomorrow on ABC Radio. The 2 games at Docklands and the 1 at the MCG in between. Let's get into the victorious Collingwood rooms, and Trey Roscoe's been good enough to join us. Trey, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
As a West Australian growing up, were you a West Coast fan, or what did you think of the Eagles growing up over there on the West Coast?
Well, actually, I was a Fremantle supporter. Mum brought me up to be a Fremantle supporter, so yeah, we didn't really like the Eagles, so it was actually very good to get a win over them today. Mum would be excited.
How did you do it today?
I think just we played our game. We didn't fall into what they wanted to play. Us backs, we connected really well. The mids were helping us out, and it just worked. And it just was the whole team that just brought something to the table, and I thought it was excellent. And yeah, it was good to get the win.
Trey, Brendan Goddard, well done on the win, mate. I thought we picked up here in the box that it looked like you guys went into the game with a real intent just to lower your eyes in the front half, and in particular that last kick inside 50. Was that something you really focused on, and in review of West Coast, something where you could really expose their backs?
Yeah, so we came in with some strong. We went over their game and how they like to play, and we came with some strongs, how their backs like to sag off quite a bit. So we thought if our high forwards and our forwards could just get to work and hit up lead, and we're going to be looking lower to hit them just to expose their back. And I think that just worked today, and they weren't ready for it, and we came out and all our forwards really provided good aerial contests and good leads, and it was just awesome to watch, really. It was easy for us backs to find a target, and miss.
What about your caretaker coach in Robert Harvey, obviously a former teammate of mine, a great man. What has he brought to the table, and what does he encourage you guys to do?
I love Harvey. He's just telling us just to play our brand of football, Collingwood football, the way we want to play, and we've always played. I think there's not much. He tells, we obviously come in with a game plan before the game and what we want to execute and how we want to play our roles, and that's about it. He just lets us play football, and yeah, I think he's been really good and helping us, especially us young boys out, and giving us a go, and the young boys have come through strong as well. So yeah, I think he's been great so far, and yeah.
Trey, mate, it looked like you really enjoyed Isaac Quainer's goal, mate. Good to see him finally hit the scoreboard.
Yeah, he's training, always training him, and whenever he gets his opportunity, he always flips to the left or the right and never gets it. And just watching that go through, I think it was a surprise because we all thought he wouldn't get it. But no, it was awesome. Yeah, I loved it.
Trey, congratulations on the win. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, guys.
Trey Rusco, a very happy Collingwood defender in the Collingwood Rooms, a 45-point winner for the Pies. They play Hawthorn in York Park down in Launceston next week. Meanwhile, for the West Coast Eagles, it's a date with Melbourne over at Perth Stadium, so a tough finish for the D's. See you tomorrow, Lids.
Can't wait.
See you then, Beach. Double header.
Get me out of the house for a long period of time, which my wife would appreciate.
Maisie, you're here at the G. Good luck for the Dons and Swans.
Should be good. Can't wait.
Thanks to Stu Birchmore. Thanks to Jess Webster. Of course, she'll be here at the G with you, to Adam back in the studio. That'll do us. A short Saturday of round 20. Pies by 45 over the Eagles. The Cats and Dogs, both winners to stay 1-2. Catch us tomorrow on Grandstand Day.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. Southeast Queensland has gone into lockdown this afternoon with a growing cluster of Delta strain infections active in Brisbane's inner west. A 17-year-old student at Indooroopilly State High School tested positive late on Thursday, while her parents and two siblings tested positive, along with her tutor, who's a medical student, and a staffer at her siblings' school. Lockdown rules have been tightened with